At 6:30, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. So welcome everyone. Good to see everyone. I haven't heard from Joel, so maybe he's running late, but let's do a real quick roll call. Just go around and say your name. I'm Ryan Welch. I'm the chair of OSAC.
Kevin Franz, committee member.
Vanessa Hetzel, committee member.
Peter Ruprecht, committee member.
Tracy Collar, member.
Sean Samuelson, member.
Kate Senecal, vice chair.
Marcy Strauss, member.
Allison James, town staff liaison.
Sandy Hammerly, trustee liaison.
All right, thank you. Anyone like to make any changes to our agenda this evening?
Oh, go ahead, Peter.
Could I recommend that we move the discussion of Hodgson-Harris Reservoir report earlier, since we have a public comment along those lines?
Okay. Any other changes requested?
Yeah, I had a question when we assigned the standing updates from last meeting. I thought like the Safe Superior oil and gas issue was going to be one of them. Am I wrong about that? What'd you decide?
I thought we put everything Rocky Flats.
No, because Joel did not want to do oil and gas stuff. And he's been doing Rocky Flats consistently, but he feels that's a conflict.
That's what I remember, though, that we were going to put anything Rocky Flats into Joel's update.
Well, no, Marcy was going to take the Safe Superior oil and gas stuff. That's what I've written down.
I just don't remember that we decided, we did that on the assignment, but I don't recall that we would add it as a standing update. We can.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just curious. We don't need to. I'm just curious.
At the same time.
Yeah.
That's fine, too.
We can show that in.
I actually do have an update.
Okay.
And I can make it real short.
Okay. Okay.
That's all.
Any other recommendations to changes, or?
I just want to say I have no recommendations at this time.
Wow. Thank you, Sean. Alrighty, so will someone make a motion to for those changes, please?
I make a motion for those two additions.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Let's get into it.
All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kathy Carty-Mullen, and I live on 1250 South Boyero Court. I'm here tonight because I just want to say how much I appreciate nature and your protection of it and your committee. And I have some fun stories to share with you from the HHR and what's going on out there. And many of you know that the HHR was restored, Hodgson-Harris Reservoir is HHR, that it was restored, the dam was restored in 2015 with a joint venture between the town and Boulder County Open Space, who owns it. And so we have this really nice wildlife sanctuary out there going on, and Sandy's been out there, and yeah, I was just kind of try to include some of you out there as well before I leave here tonight. So the HHR it's attracted so many different unique species, and it's a natural feeding ground for migrating ducks. And Steve Jones, who you may or may not know, but he's the birding expert in Boulder County. He has put together a team that does breeding bird studies each spring for the birds out there. And Peter's a part of that as well. And he said that reservoir must have a lot of food in it, because the birds that are unique that migrate through here seem to stop there, and we get them, and a lot of places don't. And he's just always impressed when he comes out. So it's kind of nice to know that as, protective committee. So tonight I'd like to share some fun few stories, and these are the avocets. And he said the avocets, and whoever has the beeper maybe can keep, there's like 8 slides.
Just let me know when to stop.
Those are the avocets. They're shorebirds. They're beautiful. They're very rare. You can keep going. In Boulder County, and we happen to have the mudflats when the water is lower. Right now it's bank to bank, that they like to nest on. And last year, or in 2017, we had, you can do it again. You can see how hard it is to see them. Mm-hmm. There he is there, and there's another one. These were taken in 2017 before the water rose. So I don't know if you're familiar with that whole scenario, but he said if there's anything that we can do to protect them, that would be really, really helpful. So as a result of the breeding bird study, we recommended to Boulder County Open Space that they manage the water. And so right now, we don't know if that's happening or not. And if you can make a recommendation to the board to support that at some point, that would be helpful, because that would help save these birds. Because Steve said our area is really one of the few that has any nesting mudflats. Look at how cute that is. I mean, how can you resist that guy? So this is what happened. In 2017, this is from then, the water levels started getting higher and higher because there's an intergovernmental agreement with the farmers downstream for that water. But there will hopefully be a way to manage that water when it's put in. These guys were laying eggs and their nest was slowly flooded. And it was compounded by a big 3-day snowstorm. You may remember 2 springs ago when we had that like 2 or 3 days of snow, and then it all melted, which flooded it even more. So we had 4 pair out there, and they left. Meanwhile, we have, at the same time, this cute little pie-billed grebe. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a little squatty duck with a stripe through its bill, and it's maybe like this big. And it's so cute. It dives, it's fun, it's very active. And because of the nature of the reservoir, there was an area that bushes started growing up. If this is the water line, the bushes started growing up when there was no water in there, when they were fixing the dam. So there's perfect habitat for them to weave their nest in the branches of these bushes that are right at water line. Well, when the water started rising, the same thing happened, is they were really upset, and they were swimming. They're so dedicated to their spot. They were swimming around and around in circles because they were under their nest. I mean, the nest was under the water. They were swimming around, whoop, 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 just really sad for like 6-7 days. And it's like, oh. So they all left. 6 weeks later, the avocets came back for 1 day. It was still flooded too much for them, but the grebes came back and they made another nest up above the water, so they're pretty resilient. Well, they had an egg in there, and one day I'm watching, and I can't believe it, but there's a muskrat that comes up to the nest, and it's having lunch and eating the egg. So, you know, it's nature. At least it's not man-made. So they leave. So in 2017, there was nothing nesting. So you fast forward to 2018, and here comes the avocets again. We have 2 pair this time, and they're starting to nest. And you can try, maybe there may be a few more pictures of this, but this is my favorite one. But they're trying to nest again on that mud flat, and the same thing happens. The water starts coming up, and we had 2 days of rain, and it just wiped it out. Well, those 2 pair left. Well, the grebes came in, and they were like, oh, not again. They left. So at the end of June, we didn't see, maybe we saw one avocet, I don't know. They didn't stick around, maybe 1 day. But the grebes came back, and if this is the water line again, they wove their nest, and they were determined. And these guys are really sweet, because what they do is they're dedicated. The male will sit on the nest for like 20 minutes, and the female will go eat and exercise, and then she'll come up and take the place of sitting on the eggs, because they need probably like a month to set the eggs. And then she'll go out, and he'll go out and eat and exercise, and then he'll come back. So they're really pretty progressive. They take turns. So one day I'm out there watching, and here comes the muskrats. And I'm like, oh God, what's gonna happen this time? So if you're the nest and you're sitting on the nest, here's the other grebe, like a soldier swimming back and forth, guarding the nest, and about this far away. And all of a sudden, the muskrat comes, and the grebe gets in there, and if this is the muskrat, and it's just like a soldier guarding it before it can, it can't get in there. And all of a sudden, I see the grebe goes down under the water and comes up. It must bite the bottom of the of the grebe, and it just took, I mean, the muskrat, it took off in the opposite direction. So it was like, yes. Well, it was a successful season after that because there were some nest eggs in there, and one by one, the little chicks jumped in the water, and if this is the water, there's the mama grebe, here's the baby chick, and like they just would go like maybe 2 feet, and all of a sudden, without a quack or a sound or anything, they both dove under, maybe 10, 15 seconds, and they both came up. And I'm like, whoa, what a lesson. And meanwhile, their brothers and sisters are being hatched. So it's like one at a time as they hatched, they were teaching them. So after like 2 of these, it took the little chick back in to rest because it was, brand new. And each day they got stronger and stronger. So we ended up with 4 grebes in this past July, which was wonderful. And if you come out there, you might see them. They sit on the back of the mamas and the papas, and they ride around kind of like on a little excursion bus. They're just really lots of fun. So that's just 2 species that we have out there. We have so many different species. Right now, there's ice everywhere, but there's an open body of water, so it's so easy to see the birds and the different ducks. We have mergansers and redheads and widgeons and buffleheads, which are really cool. They're all divers, and golden eyes, and there's like usually 10 to 12 different species, all in one small area, like as big as this room. So it's like, in like 10 minutes, you get to see them all. So it's kind of nice. So I'd like to invite you all to come out. We have gotten clearance from Saddlebrook because there's private land around this body of water. You can't go on the north side because it's the Harriest property, and that's fenced off. And Saddlebrook, it's fenced off, or it's private. So we've gotten permission from the Saddlebrook Homeowners Association to bring in groups on the 15th or the 16th of March, or the April 6th. So we have both dates, as well as Peter, myself, and 2 other people on the committee have clearance to take people one-on-one if they would like to go at any other time, if they can't make those dates. So hope you and your families can come out. It's probably just going to be less than an hour's time right now if there's ice, and if not, there'll be a little more time, and you have the flexibility to go back and forth. And what I'll do is send you an email invite with some details on it, and then you can respond. But if you would respond, that would be great. And if you do want to take a tour out there as a committee with the town, you're welcome to take one of those dates and let me know, because then that'll save you from having to get clearance from Saddlebrook Homeowners Association.
That's what I'm thinking, is maybe we'll circulate the dates and see which date works best for everyone, and try to do that within the next week.
That would be great, because then we know who to invite on the other, the other committees, so that'd be great.
Now, will something happen on both dates? So if someone couldn't make one
I'll
date,
be there.
could they? Well, we wouldn't want you to do it for one person, but if other people.
Oh, I do all the time,
Okay.
so I don't mind, but
Okay.
we'll be in touch.
Okay.
So, and Peter probably would be too. I'm signing him up right now.
I will, I'll get that email out to the group probably tomorrow, and we'll start
Terrific.
figuring out what date might work best for us. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's
Thank you.
really you never know what you're going to see out there. It's always different. It's always fun. And it's our own little sanctuary that it's just really special.
I'm excited because every time I'm on 88th, I'm always looking over there, and it's probably not the safest thing.
I know.
So it'll be better to-
There have been bald eagles hunting and fishing out there. So look on the fence posts and
Yeah.
all kinds of amazing
great.
things. So if anybody have any questions?
Kind of related to the tour question, do you know whether Boulder County has scheduled a tour out there this spring?
I don't.
You don't know, or they haven't?
I don't know.
Okay.
The only person I know that has done a tour out there is with Steve Jones with us with the breeding bird study. So I don't know if they have one. Susan Spalding would be the person to ask. So.
Because I recall that last fall, Sean had mentioned that maybe having an OSAC-sponsored trip sometime in the spring would be, or a town-sponsored trip would be a possibility. And I don't know whether that's still of interest to everybody, or have we filled up all the months with excursions already?
We typically have something every month, no matter what, but that doesn't mean that something extra. But Ashley's calendar is full. The only thing we changed for her, we added prairie dogs, got rid of bug hunt, and now we're having to move Jeff and Paige to September, which I'm moving prairie dogs to June because Jeff and Paige are not available until fall, as an addition to their family.
And prairie dogs have their babies in June, so that's a really good time to see them.
So Allison, if we wanted it to be a town-sponsored thing, would we just need to go to you to, I mean, we'd need to coordinate with Saddlebrook, but then go to you for the sign up and the marketing?
Yeah, I
piece
could
of
do
it?
all the registration and marketing, but we would need a point person that's gonna host it and talk about the birds because I don't have the
Sure,
expertise.
sure. Well, I think we know who
We
to
will,
go
we
to
will
there.
probably get Steve Jones and some other people that are really good birders
Okay.
out there.
Kathy, is there a limit to how many people can go on and visit?
We've never had a problem with that, so we usually say 30, but,
And
we
we
can
find
maybe,
the same thing, like 30 for one person speaking is about
It's-
how many questions and people that they can.
well, we would have probably some stations, so, because with birding, it's nice to be able to see and hear at the same time, and I don't know. Nature changes things all the time, so we'll just take advantage of the day and what makes sense.
And parking, we would need to know about parking. If we allow 30 people, we
Mm, that's a good point.
30 cars, you don't.
That's a good point. Yeah, bicycles.
So Peter, I think this is fine if you wanted to drive this and try to figure out a date and whatnot and get that wrapped up. I think that would be okay. I think that'd be great.
Yeah,
So-
great, thanks for your interest and I love the fact that.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming in and talking to us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope I see every one of you. Bring your kids.
Well, I hope.
Your families will love
Plan
it.
to, yeah.
Seriously.
Okay, well, per the approval, we will now talk about the ecological study on the HHR. I don't know if we, let's see, I don't know if we need to bring it up. It might be hard to read. I think, hopefully everyone read it. The kind of things I thought we should talk about, this was on the work plan. This was item 2 in Q1. The work plan is up on the OSAC website, so this is now public for anyone to go take a look at. Just what insights did people take from it? I think that's worthy of discussion. I have my own thoughts, but I think other people should go first. Anyone?
I'll start. I don't want to take the whole 15 minutes here. I thought it was a well-researched report, thoughtful and kind of wide-ranging. The one thing that I thought that maybe it missed a little bit was some local insight. For example, they talked about the loss of the colony of prairie dogs would not be a regional disaster because it's just one small colony. However, that's the last prairie dog colony in the town of Superior, for example. And so for a very local impact, it's greater than the regional impact. Kind of similarly, the report kind of suggested that since Saddlebrook is close to the water on the south side, having another development close to the water on the north side wouldn't be a problem because it hasn't been a problem for the birds having stuff up close on the south. But if you're over there a lot, Kathy could probably corroborate this. If there's a lot of human activity along the Saddlebrook side, all the birds move over to the other side of the reservoir. And so again, if you have development down to within 30 meters or something of the water on the one side, then which side do the birds go to, right? So that might be a diminishment of habitat capability. And I certainly can't fault the consultants for not knowing that, right? Because they haven't been out there observing, for days and days and days. And the other question that I had is that they cited somebody that I wasn't sure that there was currently a lack of vertebrate and invertebrate water dwellers to provide food for, I guess birds and animals out there. And, that may be true that there are fewer now, but there must still be a pretty impressive food supply out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't get these remote foragers, pelicans flying in all the way from Weld County, egrets and herons flying in from Denver City Park to forage during the breeding season. So that was a little bit surprising to me. Just from a kind of a phenomenological point of view, something's in there for things to eat, even though I can't get in to actually measure them. I know that those creatures must be there. So those were, just sort of some kind of questions that I thought that some additional observation would be useful to kind of fill out the report a little bit. But other than that, it seemed pretty thoughtful to me. I'm interested to hear what you all think as well.
So, yeah, it was definitely a more well-rounded report than the prior report we received from a separate agency. It was still, to me, it still kind of painted a I don't want to say dismal picture, but it wasn't as, it didn't show what you guys have gathered or what has been gathered over years of time and observation. I mean, they look at it as a one-point observation at what's happening this time of year. Whereas it did not indicate the very colorful wildlife picture that we've had people coming to show us pictures and reports and all this other stuff. I know it showed in some stuff in the appendix, but it still wasn't as, well, I'm biased, obviously. It wasn't as uplifting as I was hoping it would be. So I guess from a standpoint of what are we going to do with this information now? We've had two separate reports to look at from biologists, and I think one thing they indicated that was not scientifically proven was a buffer of 150 yards.
Was it yards or feet?
I think it was feet. I wish it was yards.
Yeah.
That was one of the big, I guess, the biggest takeaways I had from the report. But it did not really give me anything that would indicate, there's any harm in development potentially going in right there. Density-wise, I didn't see a lot of information there. Impact if there was high density versus low, number of people per square foot. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to take away from that report, to be honest.
I just have two quick things. They were provided the breeding bird surveys and everything that we had from Boulder County and ERO. And that, what you're referencing is this Boulder County report, and that was from Susan Spalding, was one of the members, and she's the senior wildlife biologist with Boulder County. So just extra information.
I was looking for this one line that they said that Sean kind of already referenced, that something about the reservoir not being impressive or the habitat. I remember reading the word poor, but I can't find it right now. So that was kind of disappointing. I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But I liked the recommendations. I liked that they did address that the food, the loss of the prairie dogs could affect the raptors. I wish it had been a little more in detail.
So, yeah, one other thing that reminded me of was we don't have I didn't think we had a prairie dog management program, but apparently there is something where it's required for the developer to actually relocate the prairie dogs, which if there's any glimmer of hope in that, at least they won't be eradicated, right? They won't be killed like they did downtown here. So at least there was that.
Well, and there was a good recommendation about time of year, that there might be nesting owls out there
Right,
also,
as
so I
well
thought
as
that was a good tidbit.
Right. So,
I liked also the recommendations about improving the riparian environment out there through what they could plant on that side to help improve. I mean,
trees.
but it's interesting when you drive by that, and after I read that, I'm like, they're right. There really is very little plant life around either side. So maybe it's an opportunity, maybe the developer has to fund that or something if, for example, a development were to go in there.
Well, the plant life were the trees down by the reservoir before the reservoir was restored. And when they rebuilt it, all those trees got flooded out and died. They got cut down.
Okay.
So it's even more bleak now than it was. So.
But it's a good recommendation that would be something we could push for with whatever we can do for that. So Okay.
I'll just note that one of the other recommendations in the report was to follow the senior wildlife biologist's recommendation regarding water levels.
Yeah, noticed that.
And so since the town is part of the intergovernmental agreement for managing the reservoir, and one of the goals, not the primary goal, but a goal is to maintain wildlife habitat there, it is potentially in the interest of the town to kind of push on that regarding water levels for wildlife. So this is something that, Kathy has shown us pictures about. And I guess I don't quite know how we would do that, but
Well,
it kind of fits together with what we were already talking about a little bit tonight.
I guess that's my question for Allison, or maybe Trustee Hammerly. If we wanted to reach out to Boulder County to make it be known that we don't think that water management plan is being followed, how would we do that? Would this be a recommendation up through the board for staff to reach out to Boulder County? Is that too much for what we're trying to get answered?
The way I remember that it's primarily for agricultural water, and that was one of the main focuses of that agreement, but that doesn't mean, we can't reach out and ask for something, but, it is in the agreement that it is an agricultural.
Oh, I see that the water levels need to be maintained to be able to provide the water downstream as the primary function, rather than the environment as the primary function.
But the IGA does mention wildlife habitat as a second function. So it is in there, but it's not the.
Yeah, I don't know, I obviously wasn't involved in the discussion, and I don't know when the last discussion occurred. However, I don't think it's inappropriate for this committee to say, we would like to see the town have a conversation, again, with Boulder County to see whether there is anything we can do. If nothing else, it answers the question for you guys, because that's an important topic. So I don't think it's inappropriate for you to ask.
Okay.
And, I think you could put it in your report, and Allison could talk to Patrick, and as long as, but, you can also come to a board meeting and say,
Yeah.
hey, we would really like to see the town have this conversation with Boulder County again. And,
Do you think this needs to be a formal recommendation up to the board, or do you think coming to the board meeting and discussing it is sufficient? I mean, I'm happy to come do that at the next meeting.
I think if you put it in your minutes that it's a recommendation to the board and the town,
Okay.
that should be sufficient. And then I'll just
But we
make
need to
sure
write
that
a recommendation and then
between the
vote.
two of us, we can follow up
Yeah.
and make sure that if nothing else, we get told no. But I think that's a reasonable thing to request.
So we need to write a recommendation. So this is new, I haven't done this yet, but it would be, OSAC recommends town staff reach out to Boulder County. Who would it be at Boulder County? Do we know the specific, or do we actually have a name? Susan?
Susan Spalding.
Susan Spalding, regarding the Hodgson-Harris Reservoir water level management. Is that sufficient? We need something more specific there. Yeah, that'd be great.
This is the recommendation from the report that was
Okay.
done from a breeding bird study, and the wording might help you.
Okay.
So you're welcome to.
All right, thank
use
you.
that, because it's the recommendation that they made on managing
Oh,
water
okay.
levels so that it works symbiotically with farmers and
Mhm.
with bird life, and everybody gets it, but it's managed so that it's not flooded during the prime birding season. And those habitats will really appreciate your efforts.
Could you read back what we have, please, Kate?
So far, we have OSAC recommends town staff to reach out to Susan Spalding of Boulder County, the HHR water level management. So clearly something.
Regarding HHR water level management, and the previous report recommending a slow drawdown for habitat.
Does it give timeframes of when the drawdown is?
It says drawing down water levels in March and early April to around 40 acre feet exposes mud flats. Slow drawdown tends to leave areas of exposed. So
What?
advocate
Sorry.
should be no later than 15 April. So it, little bit, but it's,
So within a month's time frame in the spring?
Yeah.
Basically, of how many feet did they say?
it said 40 acre feet exposes mud flats, so it doesn't say exactly how far to draw it down. Are we throwing a lot at you?
Yeah, a
You
lot.
could just-
No, this was just,
No,
I don't
that's
think you
okay.
need to type all that. I just think it needs to be generic of Susan Spalding regarding her recommendation for the slow drawdown.
Can we put Susan Spalding and maybe other applicable staff, just so
Yeah,
maybe Susan's
yeah.
sick for a
Maybe,
month
yeah,
or
maybe
something,
she's
you know?
moved on.
Just in case.
Or she might be on vacation for the next month and,
Right. She's
and April, you know, March is coming right up, so.
Sorry,
No, that's okay. It's
you did. You
hard
started
when
this.
everybody's staring at you.
And when multiple voices. and
Yeah,
like,
sorry about
I don't
that.
even know what no, it's okay. OSAC recommends town staff to reach out to Susan Spalding of Boulder County and/or other Boulder County staff regarding the HHR water level management and the previous report of slow drawdown. That's where there was a lot of other words.
I think, and a slow drawdown to enhance the ecosystem. Or to a slow drawdown that will enhance the ecosystem, or, it's not great, but,
Maybe enhance the ecosystem for shore nesting birds.
oh, okay.
Grasslands. There is a hydrology person there as well that is brand new, I found out today. So they're going to be educated on this, and they're the ones that are in charge of the water.
Okay.
So that would be good.
Do we have anything about time regulated? That's the only thing I want to make sure, because a lot of this is based on timing, time of year, and how, over what period of time the drawdown is, right?
But I think that it's already reported. We just need to get back with her and say we don't think it's happening. I just think that's what we're recommending.
OSAC recommends town staff to reach out to Susan Spalding of Boulder County and/or other Boulder County staff regarding the HHR water level management and the previous report of a slow drawdown that will enhance the ecosystem for shore nesting birds.
I would put hydrology in there because they're the ones that are going to control the water level. And Susan,
But Susan will know that, won't she?
but she's kind of like their equal. She's working with them, but you might just.
Okay, Susan
Susan
Spalding and.
comma, hydrology staff.
Susan comma, hydrology staff or other, yeah, maybe we just put hydrology staff next to her
Okay.
name.
And is it report or recommendation at the very end of that?
We should-
So one interesting thing is that, you know, Susan Spalding recommended this, and she is a Boulder County senior wildlife biologist, but that doesn't necessarily mean that other departments within Boulder County would agree in how that worked out. But like we were talking about, it'll be a great idea to check.
But we can
see.
find out, right? And they may just say, sorry, you know, can't, or yeah, wow, we just missed this, we just forgot or something, so. All right, one more time.
Okay,
Sorry,
OSAC,
Kate.
no, it's okay. OSAC recommends town staff to reach out to Susan Spalding of Boulder County hydrology staff and/or other Boulder County staff regarding the HHR water level management and the previous report of a slow drawdown that will enhance the ecosystem for shore nesting birds.
I think we could wordsmith it all night. I think it gets the point across, and I think it will get the ball moving on what we would like from staff. So, is that clear to everyone what Kate
Just
wrote? Okay, so if someone would like to make a motion?
I would like to move that recommendation go into the minutes and be recommended to the board and staff.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Gosh, I can't say that word.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Susan. Okay. Oh, okay.
Can
All
I
right,
ask-
anything else anyone wants to talk about on this?
Yes, go ahead.
I guess I'm just wondering if it's being kept track of the levels of the water, because when it does come down to a buffer is what we're going to get, I would like that to be from the very highest point of that reservoir.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So do we need to make another recommendation based on the two reports that we have in hand in our minutes, not just about the water level, but about buffers, tree plantings, prairie dog relocation, or a reminder on that? It just seems like all we're recommending is that we're checking in with about the water levels. What about all the other things we
I guess-
had in the report? We need to make a recommendation. We have all the evidence now. We need to make a recommendation on everything.
So let me add a separate perspective. Should we do that when the final development plan comes up and that's in everybody's forefront and we are told we will have our, you know, our time to be able to talk about it? I'm just worried if we do it but now and 6 months later, right, it may not be as timely to the board when
I say
they're
we repeat it.
evaluating.
I say we do it now and then again at that time. I think there's no harm in being proactive, to be honest. Because then the developers know upfront.
But so what are we recommending to the board?
We're recommending, based on the reports, that they take into consideration that a buffer of 150 feet be, and tree plantings and whatever other recommendations that, you know, the prairie dog relocation, I think is just something is a given, right, Allison? I don't know, do all developers know that?
Yeah.
They do, okay.
I think it's pretty common in Colorado.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know, considering what happened in downtown here. So they didn't get relocated. No.
That's a separate topic. Let's
Yeah.
stay on topic here. We are running long already, so
Yeah.
let's try to stay on if we could.
So.
I agree with Sean on that. It seems like we have, despite good intentions, we've missed a lot of things in the past and our recommendations have fallen on deaf ears because of timing. So would there be a problem with recommending it twice, now and later?
I mean, I don't see why not. I just think it might be a lot of noise and in a busy board packet. And if there's nothing urgent, then does it get any mind share? Maybe not. I mean, I guess I don't know. We wouldn't be asking for the board to actually be recommending anything to staff to do anything, right? We're just sort of recommending that they consider something. I don't know. Is that something we should be recommending? I don't know. Because you're not asking anyone to take any action.
Do we have any idea when the FQP is coming for this? So, I mean, it could be next month, it could be next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it is not imminent. We asked about it because of 88th street improvements. And we will talk about street improvements at our next meeting, so maybe there'll be more information forthcoming on Zaharias at that point in time. But at this point, it's not on our agenda, other than that we can't talk about it. So, you know, I think there is no rush for you to make a recommendation, but there's certainly nothing wrong with you doing it. You don't have to do it at this meeting, though. So if you wanted to put it on the agenda for your next meeting, to come in with, you know, 3 to 5 specific recommendations that, based on the information you had gathered, you would like to make sure that any developer that's developing Zaharias look at these recommendations. You could even have them brought to the board and say, you know, do you guys have any problem with these recommendations? Because certainly if we saw a problem with them, you wouldn't want them. But then the staff would have the ability to share them with the developers. So, but there's nothing pressing, so you could have it as a serious topic of discussion at your next meeting, and you could even say, you know, invite the public to come and talk about it on what your recommendations would be, because then the public might come in and share some comments with you also.
Thank you.
Is it worth sharing with the Planning Commission, since they kind of have the first look at a lot of the plans, right? Or is that too much detail for them?
This is the communication path, right? Us through town up to the board, then the board will direct, at least as far as I understand, right? We wouldn't ever go directly to the Planning Commission on something like this.
Well, you could certainly, if you come up with your recommendations, you could ask the staff share those with the Planning Commission. I mean, there's nothing that says that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, you could go to the Planning Commission meeting. But if you put the recommendations out there, they would be shared with the Planning Commission as well as the town board at the time that we actually evaluate the the FTP. But
Okay.
as I said, not on the agenda right now.
So if you will, I will I recommend that we circle back on this next week or next month. I think we should look at the various reports we have and come prepared with what we think the recommendations would be. I think if we spent time doing that now, it would take another hour and we would,
I just want to have something prepared for the board dinner, because that was one of the, 5 or 6 topics we were going to potentially discuss, wasn't it? HHR report.
yeah, well, okay, but I mean,
And
the
we
board
might-
dinner, yeah, and maybe that, let's just get it organized next time. I mean, the board dinner could happen before then.
And if
though,
it does, if we get a date, we can always call a supplemental meeting.
Special meeting.
Yep,
If we need to, yeah.
yep, if we need to.
So, is everyone okay with that approach?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Good topic. Let's move on, if we can, to the work plan update after the last board meeting. So, thank you. I think it was Marcy and Sean that attended that last board meeting. I wasn't able to attend where they talked about the work plans. My recollection is that Trustee Lish recommended that we add, and actually I think we have it. So there was one item that was added to our work plan that is to participate in, let me just edit that, a meeting. Well, we'll fix that up. A meeting with RC Superior discussing trail connectivity between the Rock Creek development and downtown Superior.
That's the final one, so.
Oh, okay, don't edit it. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
In meeting, that's fine. Okay, sorry about that. So, I mean, I guess it's more just to let everybody know that this is the change to our work plan. I think it's a great addition because when we rank our trails, this becomes number one, is let's figure out downtown connectivity. And I think figuring that out sooner rather than later and figuring out if we can do things temporarily until things are permanent would be a good way to go. So I am excited about this. I'm not sure when we'll fit this in the first quarter because this is somewhat dependent on RC Superior coming to a meeting of ours or us meeting with them separately. But hopefully, I guess the thing would be to see if we could get them to come to our meeting next time to have this discussion. So I guess there isn't a whole, I guess the only other thing to discuss from that meeting is that I think that the Historical Commission's work plan was updated for the naming part of it. So that's awesome, right? Great to have them on board with this project. And then, am I missing anything for those that were there? Or?
No,
No, it
those
was
were
the naming.
Those are the two
That we're
things.
gonna assist with the naming, and, my understanding was that Ken said that the board should put pressure on RC to let us work with them. So we're waiting for some kind of an open door,
So it's both ProStack and OSAC working with them
Right,
on temporary
right,
trails as
right.
well as longer-term permanent
Okay.
trails.
So this is also in ProStack's work plan then? Okay, so it almost needs to be a joint meeting then, not coming to one of ours, so. Okay, well, we'll figure that out. I'll work with Allison and we'll see how we can pull that together. A joint meeting could be fun. Anything, I guess the only other thing, let's see, I did have another note. So one thing that on our work plan that we kind of discussed late last year was Joel's idea of the soft shoulder trail project. And, we just sort of missed that, getting it into our work plan. My plan on this is to take this to our leadership meeting with ProStack and just get their temperature for wanting to push something. And then if they agree that they think it's a good idea, then we'll make sure to get that into our work plan, either for next year, or if we feel there's momentum, we can always make a recommendation that the work plan be amended. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know, I didn't completely forget about that.
I saw, somebody was commenting the other day about social trails and how kids were walking across them and putting mud everywhere, and I thought, oh,
I saw that
that's
too.
what kids do, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
No barriers, no boundaries.
Okay. Any other comments about the change to the work plan? Okay. I will say we're doing really good on our first quarter. I think we'll easily get everything in our next meeting, so it's going okay, so good. Sean, or the next topic is the property evaluation process issues. So I realize I need to make some better, more specific minutes, and I'm going to work on that for next time. But this was really, Sean brought up an interesting issue on one of the numbers, or one of how we rank several items. And that was in the kind of the last two, the attainability and the management part of this spreadsheet. So Sean, I'll let you take it away with what you're thinking.
After looking this over again and revisiting all the stuff that went into it, I again realized that the last two elements, I may have mentioned this last meeting, were really the realistic measures, and that the weighting system we had originally put in place, well, although we went with a balanced measurement system more or less, it was intended to really even out the realistic aspect with the what's another unrealistic? No, I don't want to call it unrealistic. The ideal. Thank you. Ideal scenario of the upper five, and so there were 5 above. So if you were to weight those, roughly what 20% each, and then you could have that as your ideal scenario. And then if you're going to do realistic, you could do like 10% weighting on the upper 5, each 10% on the upper 5, but then have the realistic scales be like 25% each to kind of even out or give it a different flavor of score. And then the other thing was, the rating system. I've gone back and forth on, which one was it? Was it 6 or 7? I don't know. I wasn't sure if it should be 10 being,
yeah. So I thought about this after your email, and I could see how this is confusing because with number 7, level of threat to, or actually thinking about the immediately threatened by development, would we rank it high because we think it's threatened, that we need to make it a higher priority? Mm-hmm. Or the other way of looking at it is there's an FDP out there and we really can't say anything, so why would we rank it high? Right? You could really look at it, and it's complete reversal of how you would rank that one. Right. And my personal belief is that we would keep it. I think that if we think the potential is there, because it doesn't really say, is there an active plan? Right? If there's an active plan, we know we can rate it, but we have to be careful. But I do think that things that are more desirable, like I think Town 15 is a great example, right? Town 15, there was a lot of activity on that, and I would rank that high because there's interest, right? So because there's interest from other parties, I want to rank it high because we also have interest rather than ranking it low, right? It would raise the priority in our list by ranking that high. Anyway, that's my opinion.
So that was when I started getting these philosophical thoughts. What the hell are you doing here? So I don't know. I just wanted to reopen a discussion before you guys got too far along in your rankings, if you actually had done anything yet. Because again, after a while, it's like, oh my gosh, there's such a small variation between the properties. And somebody like, I just want them all, except for one, which is not as good as the others. But still, it's just kind of like fine-grained teasing, but it can definitely give a different scoring and ranking picture of and again, originally we were trying to give two different scores, right? An ideal score and a realistic score. And hypothetically, the realistic score would be potentially very different in their rankings than the ideal score. And I just want to bring that back out instead of having
and I agree. I think we'll just have to figure out how we mess with the percentages to get that to come out. Is it fair to do it after everyone's ranked? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But we kind of know what they are. So when there's so few, that it's not very scientific, actually.
I mean, to that point, do we even really use a percentage, or we just put in our rankings that say,
Yeah.
you know, hey, we're taking all these 7 things into consideration, and we pick this one as our first?
Yeah, because then you don't have to even do weightings, you just do an average at that point. There's no point.
And part of why you have a group of people doing it is that you get the perspectives from everybody that gets filtered into the final ranks.
Okay. So I'm hearing that, do we need to make any changes to this form before we finalize? I mean, I'm not hearing that we do, but I just want to make sure we close that out before we work to get our final rankings done.
Yeah, is it clear to everyone who's new and hasn't done it before? Does it seem
Okay.
workable?
All right.
So actually, just one question. Do you want to, do you want 2 spreadsheets back from us, one with the ideal and one with everything, or just fill the
No,
whole
I
thing
think,
out?
I think what I'll do, go ahead and just fill it in, and then we're going to change the weightings to try to go with the ideal and see if it makes sense. See if it matches what our intuition says. And then maybe we say, well, that's not a great way to do the realistic approach, and we'll come up with another approach. I think that's a reasonable way to go at this. It may just work, but it may not. It may come out different than what we would intuitively say the priority should be.
And I think that's originally what we were trying to do last year,
Mhm.
but we just ended up going one particular direction.
I mean, the fact that we're actually doing this again a year later, when before it'd been, what, 13 years?
Yeah.
is actually really cool. So, I mean, but this is what we should be talking about, right? With so few properties left, this absolutely should be our focus. I did want to ask Trustee Hammerly, I know that there was an executive session that talked about property. Is there anything from that that you could share that might provide insight? And if the answer is no, that's totally fine. I just thought I would ask.
I don't know how much I can share. I actually
Okay.
wrote Matt Magley, and that's why I keep looking at my
Okay.
computer to see if I can get, we did meet with the representatives of the Conservation Trust. Is that the correct? Fund. And it was a productive meeting. The board is supportive of us going forward and approaching CenturyLink. And we, you know, other than that, I don't know how much I can say because, but I did ask Matt in my email, is it possible for me, we have drafted a letter to ask if it's possible that I share the letter with you. I suspect he will tell me no, because we are in, you know, a potential negotiation at this point. But the board is interested in moving forward with an effort to try and, I mean, you know, and we've already said that in our work plan, to negotiate to try and acquire the CenturyLink property. I think that I'm safe to say, but the details.
No, that was, I mean, because
that
that was in the description of the CenturyLink, or of the executive session, was discussing how to approach this. So I think that was all covered in the public of what was in. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's positive, and we're trying to move forward. But at this point, I think I can't talk about it other than that.
Sure.
But they are supportive of your recommendations that we acquire it. And
The whole thing, right?
The whole thing.
Okay.
The whole thing. Now, that may not happen, but, but at this point, we are, our recommendation is that we attempt to acquire the whole thing.
Okay. Thank you. The only other thing I'll mention is from Director Hammer, or Director Hammer, is that the right title? Is that we just, when we write this or we talk about this, we just need to be very careful around any properties that have any sort of development plan going on, right? So with Zaharias, we just need to make sure that we say, yes, we're ranking it because it's not being built, but when we write the document, say we fully understand that there are active development plans for here, and you know, the intention is not to interact with that in any way. He actually has wording, and I have it actually. I'll send it out, but he has some good wording on how we'll put that in the document when we write it. The other questions were that we were hoping to get an update was on Rogers Farm. Do we know that by right, they're building that center section, or the kind of that western section, but there's a little sliver on each side that is not being built, right, in the current plan? Okay. Because we have it on our ranking, but I guess the thing for us then is just know that that is still potentially available, but there is active construction and potentially an active plan coming forward on that sliver. It's not in my opinion, well, actually, I won't share my opinion because you need to rank it on your own opinion, so I'll just leave that. And then the only other update, was there any update on interest in that 3rd Avenue property that we had brought up?
What was that?
The 3rd Avenue property, was there any feedback on if there was any interest on that one?
Yeah, so the word that I received was that the board was not interested as the properties were too expensive.
Okay. Okay.
But that's the front half. What about the back half that's not for sale right now? The track 919, which is really the more interesting part to our committee.
It was in response to the recommendation that OSAC put forward for the 3rd Avenue properties.
Yeah, but we specifically said track 919.
We did.
In that.
But they weren't addressed. They weren't addressing the track 919. They're addressing the parts that were for sale.
How do you know?
Because it was too expensive.
But there's estimates of it, right? You can go into
No,
Zillow
they're only going based on what's for sale right now.
Is that true? Anyway, the thing about it is that it's not going to impact our ratings, right? We need to, maybe it changes the attainability, how you would rate the attainability on that, but we need to still rank it based on our desires and not so much, the dollar issues will be another set of negotiations, but I think, go ahead and rate it.
So let's make sure that when we do rate it, we are very specific about which particular parcel we are rating. We are rating the track 919 that is not currently for sale, that abuts Boulder County open space along the creek, not the front, 6 individual properties that are currently for sale and actually have a price on them. We are ranking the one that is not for sale. The owner does not currently, or is not interested in selling it currently, probably because it's in a floodplain or something, I don't know. But regardless, I want to make sure that we are very, very, very clear on our notes and everything going forward, what we are ranking, because I don't want there to be any mistake.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
How do you know the owner is not currently interested in selling it?
That's what Allison told us at one of our last meetings.
Did they, oh, that's right, it was like last meeting or the meeting before. And
But that sign over there doesn't indicate that it's not for sale, does it?
It
I drove
doesn't,
by.
but if you look on MLS, it's only the front 6.
Yeah.
The lot lines are very clear. And the picture that Peter took was just yellow.
Yeah, that's on the sign right by the property. So when you drive by, you'll see that. That's the picture. I think I saw your footprints over there. Okay. Yes. So should I'll go and, so the master of this, I'm going to go update it to not just be 3rd Avenue property, but it's going to be tract 919 3rd Avenue. So it's very clear from the beginning that that's what we're talking about.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I will take that note.
in talking about acquisitions, I have that spreadsheet that I sent out maybe a month ago.
Mhm.
If anyone gets a moment, I can resend it to you. If you can just glance at that and input any information you have before we send it off to Allison. Just on contacts, like that parcel, I'm curious who was contacted, what staff member did that, and do they have a plan to follow up, so.
Would you please send a reminder?
Sure.
It just is too far down my stack,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I'm
with
afraid
you.
I
I'm
won't,
in
and
the
I
same boat.
absolutely want to provide
Yeah.
feedback on
Will.
that, so thank you.
Can I ask just a real quick question about
Sure.
Development plans and so forth? You know, being super cautious about not wanting to get in trouble about talking about a property that might have a development plan on it. How do we know whether there is a development proposal or something on a particular piece of property? Is that?
You can ask town staff. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, I'm
But
on the
I mean,
board, and I
I'm-
don't know everything that's on town staff's desk that they're reviewing right now.
Oh, no.
So, you know, I mean, it's very easy to ask Allison, to ask Stephen, hey,
Yeah,
are there
I
any
mean-
discussions on a particular piece of property? At this point, there's nothing I don't talk about because I don't even know half the time what's in town staff's desk. But
We tend to, I tend to follow the board meeting agendas and watch them, so that's how I try to stay apprised of that. So, but if we're not sure, we'll just ask.
I mean, or send an email to me and I'll send it to Stephen because I know he'll answer me. So, I'm happy to do that, but literally I play dumb sometimes, I'm going to be honest, because sometimes I just want to be able to listen to residents and hear what they have to say on a piece of property. And if I know officially that it's under development, I have to be very, very careful.
It's interesting too, because if you look at some of our old rankings, I mean, these same parcels have been there forever. And so since that recommendation keeps on going through and those parcels are still in that queue, I don't think that that's an issue because they've always been the same targets,
No, but I think that's a good point of why it is so important for us to continue updating our summary doc, maybe every year or every other year rather than a 10-year break, right? It just is more current that way.
Sean, I wanted to clarify, we are aware of your request. It's 919 is the one you're interested in, right? That property, there is a price available on it, and there is. The town manager has looked at that, and at this point, because of the price they're asking for it, the town is not interested in acquiring it.
That's good feedback. What is the price? Can you share that? Is it public?
I don't know if I should tell you, because again, that was part of the executive session, but I can tell you that we did talk about it.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that before I said anything, that we had talked about both parcels you were interested in.
Okay.
And,
Well,
and
that
we
helps
did.
with our ranking, at least with the realistic too.
Yeah, no,
We didn't know
that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it might change how you put the attainability ranking on that property. So, okay,
And
thank you.
may I ask Trustee Hammerly, did you discuss any other parcels? Did you discuss any other parcels in that executive session other than CenturyLink and that 919?
Well, that's what I was checking, because we'll have other conversations, and I'm not, we did.
Oh.
I think one of the properties that you guys have talked about is Ridge 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we did talk about that. Other than to tell you I can't talk about it, but the town does know of your interest in acquiring it, and there is, we're looking into it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we said the end of the quarter was the due date, so we'll even have one more meeting. I think we should keep that, so that means the first meeting in Q2 will be to go through it. We'll summarize it, we'll go through it, we'll discuss it. People can talk about why they rank things the way they did. It's actually one of the more fun meetings we have because we get to talk about, the property rankings and how we're doing with that. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, let's move on. National Trails Day planning. Actually, I should ask, is everyone okay with where we are with this before we move on? Okay, I think that was some good input. Okay, National Trails Day planning. So Allison, what do you need from us?
Okay, so right now, I'm guessing, I wanted to ask the group if that Sunday after the real date on American Hiking Society is still what everybody agrees on, because
is that June 2nd?
June 2nd, yes. Is everybody still liking the Sunday
Oh, yes, totally.
versus the
Yes,
Saturday?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I am.
And then my list, I just have a list of the activities that we did last year. Bike ride, 30 minutes, Mr. Joel White.
Sure.
Is everybody?
And Joel, I'm happy to go on that with you if you want some company.
I think this year we might try to start at the Purple Park and go to Colton.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Instead of starting at Colton, going back up and then coming back down. I think that'll work a little bit better for our audience. Makes the climb a little easier.
Do they have to cross, would you think about crossing at the roundabout with bikers?
I usually cross at the light because the second you hit that signal, you get a crosswalk. But we could talk about that. I mean,
Okay.
we could ride down the sidewalk, go underneath right out here, and never have to cross the road.
But then you've got that longer climb
You do.
coming back up.
Yeah.
But then you could talk about Shan Shan.
Yeah.
So what we could do,
That's true.
if you want to give me some sort of drawing on a
Yeah.
map, and then I
Yes.
can include that, where to meet and the time. Did you like 8:15?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go ride the two and see what difference we're talking about in mileage and elevation. And then I can kind of circulate that to this group. I think we probably need to cut down the climb because the audience was pretty young kids.
Yeah.
And they were suffering a bit.
But I could, like, on our marketing material, include the map and then say, hey, this is what it's gonna be, where to meet, where to park. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then I have Ashley with her booth, our wildlife ecologist. And last year we had rattlesnakes, learned secrets about rattlesnakes because we had a rattlesnake, a lot of hubbub about rattlesnakes last year. So is anybody interested in anything else or still rattlesnakes?
But I think the other option is, that's Cameron, right? Was he the guy that,
No, this is Ashley, our
oh, that was
wildlife
Ashley.
ecologist.
That's
and
what she was talking about.
She was talking
I
about
see.
rattlesnakes and like what to do, if you encounter one with your dogs or, on a trail hiking or et cetera. And that's kind of what we had her focus on last year, but I don't know if the group has another topic that you would like her to prepare and kind of have ready.
I'm personally into coyotes. My house backs open space where we're having serious issues, which is becoming town center, where we're having serious issues with the coyotes coming into our neighborhood. And as you know, I've been talking to Ashley separately, trying to figure out how to deal with them, because I, being naive, an Easterner, thought you could just go and relocate them, and she clarified that you cannot, it's illegal in Colorado to relocate coyotes because they will die trying to get back. They're territorial, and they will die trying to get back to their own territory. But anyway, to me, coyotes are more important than rattlesnakes, and that's what I was gonna suggest she concentrate on.
Well, we really are, typically on Arbor Day, she does coyotes, and on National Trails Day for years, she's done coyotes, but we just switched it last year to rattlesnakes. Because that was the hot item, but whatever the group wants to do.
Do we have to decide that piece this far out?
No, I think she can prepare, if we give her like a month or so.
I mean, I think either one is fine, so
Or
I
she
just
could
don't
do
have a
both.
strong preference, right? Or being prepared to talk about both would be great.
Well, she is,
Yeah.
I think the main thing is like her props that she would bring, because she'll bring like a coyote skin, and sometimes she'll bring like owl pellets for the kids to dig through to find, what they were eating,
But we had BOCO there last year, and they had a coyote. They had like the full.
It was cool. Yeah,
And
it was
I'm gonna
good.
get to that with them too.
I just
like-
don't want them both to be
yeah.
doing the same thing.
Right. I think that's kind of what happened. That's why we maybe had Ashley do rattlesnakes and Boulder County did coyote. And we had them do trail etiquette. Boulder County, I think, did trails and trail etiquette.
And weren't they also doing dog poop? Weren't they like
Yes, we
doing
had
a
the
dog
bag
poop
targets.
toss? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. I don't think you can have enough on that topic.
Evidently not. People still leave their
No.
bags all over the trails.
I know.
I mean, they all kind of bring their props that they utilize, but if there's anything special, I would say besides dog poop and coyotes and rattlesnakes, if there's any special other topics.
I mean, the only other thing that comes to mind that we've been talking about is raptors.
Yeah.
But we could also be talking about that in our booth if we wanted to, right? That kind of goes to like our outreach material in a later discussion, but that could be interesting for her to talk about. I don't know exactly what she would talk about. I mean, because,
Well, if we have birds of prey out there, you know, if we have our bird and owl, I think last year they brought owls, and then the years before they brought some raptors. You know, Hawk Quest. If we still want to do Hawk Quest, what does everybody think about that?
Oh, we love Hot
I
West.
think that's so cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Boulder County Rangers, I can organize for them to be here again with us. And the Boy Scouts did leave no trace. And I think Patricia had the Boy Scouts angle. Do we want the Boy Scouts with leave no trace, or is there something?
I think having them involved is great if that's what they want to do.
I mean, could we reach out and see what maybe they would like to, I don't know. I mean, usually there's a badge involved in this kind of stuff, so.
How about Girl Scouts? I don't know, but.
Who did the flower pots? Was that youth leadership?
Yeah,
Yes.
youth
Okay.
leadership.
Yeah, I like the idea of making it just scouts, boy or girl. I mean, if either or both are willing, I think that would be
Well,
great to reach out to.
I know who to contact for the Girl Scouts. There's a older Girl Scouts group called Gecko, which is more, they're not doing as much as the younger kid things. They're more, I don't know, my daughter's like, they're going and doing a snowshoe hike, and they did a hut overnight, and it's more adventure-y kind of things, but they are trying to do bigger issue things. So this actually would fit nicely into that. So I can reach out to them and see if they're interested in, I don't know, having a topic.
How many levels of Girl Scouts are there?
That's the thing. I can't keep it all straight.
Okay, because I know there's Cub Scouts, Weevillos, and Boy Scouts. I think there's 3 levels.
They have daisies, brownies, and Girl Scouts.
And I think this is after, this is maybe like Girl Scouts, but it's a slightly different offshoot of Girl Scouts. I don't know if they really work on badges and that kind of stuff, but they just work on being together and working on community events and
So they're kind of like the
outdoorsy
Navy
kind of
SEALs.
things.
They're like a special offshoot of.
Kind of, I actually need to go learn more about it, but I can reach out to them and see if they're interested.
And then I have our wagon ride. Thoughts?
I
think my daughter's still on it from last year.
Oh my gosh,
Mine
that's
too.
so true.
She went on every ride that was taken.
I thought that was really cool.
It was a pretty big hit with the kids.
So yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't get to go, so I want to go this year.
And then I have Center for Snake Conservation.
Yeah.
Can we get him to do a little walk too? Where he just, because he's done it from that trailhead before.
Well, I don't think that we hosted him doing a walk at that trailhead. And one of the things about that, we could do it maybe on a separate date. I remember one of the problems we were having, like when we organized a run and we had like a bunch of separate stuff, and then we had all these other events going on, and we were struggling with people not attending these events and like being, you know, out on a trail somewhere. So I didn't know, I mean, whatever the group thinks, but I remember that was one of the discussions a couple of years ago that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last year, that we were trying to keep people closer to the things we had scheduled, the different groups, and to have the kind of competing interests for the attendees' time. That's why we moved the bike ride up, to try to be done before anything else happens.
I just would anticipate this year that last year Cameron was just getting started and he's well established now and super popular. I think there's going to be a crowd.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's great. But the nice thing about Cameron is that he schedules with us for an hour, but then he stays for like almost 2 hours, and that other second hour he lets all the kids handle the snakes. And but whatever, you know, however everybody wants to change, you know, anything we want. I mean, we did have it like the schedule was pretty tight. Like we had the bike ride at 8:15. We had Ashley there from 9 to 12. We had Hot Quest from 9 to 10. Then we had the Rangers, the Boulder County Rangers and the Boy Scouts from 9 to 12. And then we had the wagon rides from 10 to 12. And then the Snakes from 10:15 to 11:15, but he stayed until like 12:30 or something like that. So it's kind of really back to back.
I feel like the timing is finally down to a science. I hate to rock the boat just because it was so good last year, and we've had some bumps in the past, but that's just my 2 cents.
I tend to agree. I think it was works pretty well. I don't think we should, unless then someone has a real passion for wanting to see something, you know, by all means, but I think what we have is working.
And I'm sure if the group wanted to, we could do a hike like as a standalone, you know, like in a different month or something. I'm sure he'd be happy to do it. He's so nice to work with. And then SLIC, did we want Superior Youth Leadership Council, you know, to ask them to man a booth? And did we want to do the same activity, or did we want to recommend something else with them?
So how, for the youth activities, the scouts and the, what'd you call it, slick?
Superior Youth Leadership Council.
Okay. Anyway, how well, did both groups get a lot? I couldn't attend for some reason that day. I was only there for setup. But were those booths getting a lot of attendance? Were people going to those booths?
I think it was a lot of movement. A lot of people came to the activities, and then at the booths, it was steady, but I wouldn't say anybody was really inundated.
I didn't feel like the youth leadership had a lot of people. I've seen them have a lot in the past, but this past year I didn't, but that was just my perspective.
It's one of my daughter's favorite. I still got the flower pot painted at home, so.
I do too, and my flowers are blooming.
Yeah, so, I don't know, it was cool.
I mean, I think if I love bringing youth into these things. I think it's important to continue that, you know, from the scout standpoint, as well as from a youth leadership standpoint, in different ways. I just think it brings a different crowd and a different energy to the whole event. So I'm in favor.
So how about we reach out to them and see if they have a recommendation on what they'd like to do?
Right, I think that's a great idea. If they want to change it up a little or something, it may make it more interesting for them.
So are we open to new suggestions yet? Well, I was just going to suggest, I don't know, have we ever reached out to the Audubon Society to see if they wanted to come to Trails Day and present anything?
Not that I know of.
Okay, is that something we might want to consider? Again, if we're trying to potentially expand the number of booths we have, since we do have, we have Hot Quest, but I don't know, they know a lot about birds, and we got a lot of birds around here. Would it be worth reaching out to them, see if they want to have a tent?
Well, it seems like we have a lot of touch points with birds, with the raptor program and the reservoir. Right now, it might actually be a draw for some residents.
Yeah, so.
I think it's worth asking.
I did order the same number of tents, chairs, tables a few months ago, because we try to get our orders in for all the events early so that, you know, the materials are available. So if there is another tent or anything, just be mindful that I would have to add it on, and we want to get it in this.
Do we have space for another tent if we did get them?
I think we have space maybe on the other side of the restrooms.
Oh, on the trail? Yeah. Oh.
You know, where we had the prior years, we had also Rocky Mountain Rescue.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We did a few years, and so I think there's room.
Okay, well, I don't know anyone at the Audubon Society, but I'd be happy to reach out to them to see if they'd be willing to join us for Trails Day if people are wanting me to.
Yeah, does anyone know anyone? I'm looking at 2 specific people.
You too, specifically.
It's worth a reach out, just see what they say.
All right, I'll reach out to them.
Our old member Sharon may know someone there.
Oh, okay. And then the other thing was, for the Boca Rangers, would it be possible for them to potentially bring a black-footed ferret with them to show off? a live one?
I have no idea.
Wouldn't that be cool? Because if they're gonna eventually reintroduce them into our open space behind where we're presenting our Trails Day, it'd be really cool to show people what it is we're reintroducing and how cute they are and what they're gonna do, you know, why they're being reintroduced and, what their food sources are and, you know, everything else, why they died out and what they're doing to bring them back. And I just think that'd be kind of a cool little extra twist.
Well, and even if it's on.
We've talked about
They
it.
might have a model of one that they can bring, you know, like the coyote.
Sure, I mean, yeah,
Live would be
that'd be fun. A
cool.
live one would be really cool, but.
Except around
Who wouldn't love a
a
ferret?
hawk, that might not go so well.
Actually be amazing.
Yeah.
And their tent was like right there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if Allison, if that's something you could reach out to them if.
They probably have a stuffed one. They have lots of stuffed animals.
Yeah, that-
from-
That'd be a
That
nice
stuff's cool.
fallback, but if they could maybe bring.
Okay, so I've got coyotes, rattlesnake, dog waste, and black-footed ferrets. Anything else?
I think we have a full,
Okay.
I think it's working. Let's not shake it too much.
And then, do we want to give a swag prize?
What do we still have? What do we have in surplus right now?
Last year with the first aid, the little first aid packs, we had some dog poop bags, but I think we're out of those.
Yeah, we're out. We got rid of them at Chili Fest. I
Were
wasn't sure.
ours the red
Yes.
emergency?
Yep.
So I think
Yep.
I have maybe a 3/4 of a box left
So a
of
good
those.
amount.
Yeah, they don't take up much space. So.
Any other ideas of what we could do? I mean, I've seen, like the sunglasses, someone was doing the sunglasses, those were kind of cool. I don't know if that was Pro
We got them
Stack.
at the training.
Yeah, if you would have gone to the
training.
Oh, cool. And then we did these dog poop bags that had a little carabiner and bags. Actually, someone recommended we do the replacement bags for that, because people have them, but they've run out of bags and they like them.
In a different color, please, not green.
We also got Band-Aids.
What's that?
We got Band-Aids at training too.
Oh,
Yeah, some
cool.
of the little emergency
Okay.
kits. We just gathered every single piece of swag in our storage.
That's awesome.
And gave everybody a little bag of swag.
Nice.
But I mean, we typically do something every year.
Right.
So I mean, the sooner the better. I don't know if we have to decide exactly now if there's something we want to do.
The two things that I can think of that I get, like in swag, that I tend to use are chapstick and sunscreen. Like especially like little carabiner sunscreens, those are always nice to have because you can refill them and keep them on your stuff. And I always get to the trailhead having forgotten sunscreen, and around here that's.
We did that one
crucial.
year.
Yeah.
And then t-shirts.
Do we have,
Last year, we did not get them
oh, t-shirts for us.
for you, yes. for
Oh, not,
Trails.
yeah, not to hand out. I think we have enough new people that we should do t-shirts, I think.
Can you tell us what the t-shirts look like this year?
They're probably up by now.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you try to do that.
I mean, these t-shirts from this agency are always super nice.
I still love mine from 2 years ago. That was a cool one.
The green one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is this not working? Oh, there it goes.
Maybe it's the wind. I know.
Oh, there they are.
But that's 2017.
2 years ago.
So,
What?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that one either.
I don't either.
But that one's cool.
I think they mislabeled it.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be 2019.
I mean, I
that's gotta
think
be a new one.
It's
I've
gotta
never
be.
seen
I've
that
never
one.
seen that. No, that was not.
I mean, do we think they're really going to put out something horrendous? I mean, I think it'll be probably
No, they're
pretty cool,
always
whatever it is, so.
And I always pick the best one.
Yeah.
Plus this year we have hats to go with.
Yes, we do.
Which I don't have a hat,
Oh, we need to,
for the record.
okay, we'll
I
get
I
you
want
a
to put that in
hat.
my minutes over here.
Put that in your minutes. We need to get everyone, make sure everyone gets a hat.
Recommendation to the board.
Feel
Yeah.
free to stop by my office. They're under my desk,
Okay.
by my feet.
I'll come visit. I'll come visit.
So Allison, let's just do it.
Okay. So if
Why not?
everybody
Yeah.
can send me their shirt size, that would be great.
Okay.
I'll send it to you right now.
Including our trustee liaison. They're the best t-shirts.
Okay. So Allison, do you have everything you need for National Trails Day?
That was my list.
Okay. But this actually segues.
wait.
Oh, go ahead.
So, do we want to talk about, last year, we did a recap on things to continue and things to improve on. Do we want to talk about those things now, too? Or do you want to wait?
I don't care. We're about on time, so.
Okay, anyway, so last year's minutes said continue using the dog signs, the wagon ride, snakes, and owls. In things to improve were parking area mowing, bringing hand sanitizer, setting up a no parking area, and improvement to the route for the kids' bike ride, which we already discussed.
The
And
no,
I have it on my calendar for mowing.
okay.
Cool.
in case. But, you know, it also depends on rain and all of that.
Well, but even there, what we can, like, what I'll do is I'll just come over early and I'll park where you're supposed to park,
Yeah.
right? If one person just goes and parks in the
And our
right spot,
signs, you know, we got signs.
we'll just park a few cars there and that'll fix it, right? People will know that they can pull all the way up if there's cars up there.
Yeah.
So,
The no parking was for like our people who are coming, right? We just didn't have
Yeah.
space for them, just to clarify.
Well, the
Wasn't
horse
it?
and buggy ended up parking down by Calamonte instead
Oh my
of-
gosh, really?
but that wasn't because we had the parking
We
labeled
did,
off.
but-
They just didn't know.
Yeah, I think they
Well,
were
and we were
concerned
gonna
getting into
make
the
that a
roundabout.
circular roundabout, but then he was able to turn on such a tight
Yeah.
space, I couldn't believe it. And so we had blocked off the trailer for them to
Right.
drive with the wagon through there. So,
Well, we'll just let them know that we'll have space for him to park if
Yeah.
we could. So, I mean, I think we kind of have all that covered.
Except for the
the
hand
things to
sanitizer, we
improve.
could consider that for the swag, really, or
Those little
not.
tiny ones?
and we usually buy drinks.
Yeah, we'll
and
do the,
snacks.
yep.
Is that in the same place as Jefferson?
No, it's at the Colton Trailhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right at the trailhead, right there on the corner. I mean, I think the hand sanitizer was like, the thought was a big one, not as a hand away or giveaway, but just because we're handling a bunch of stuff, that it'd be nice to be able to.
Snakes? You don't think snakes are clean?
Well, didn't the snake kind of relieved itself on one of the attendees? That was pretty funny last year.
I think this debrief was my
Yeah.
first meeting,
But
as we're talking about.
So did we decide on the swag or did we say we're gonna wait? I mean, I say we do investigate hand sanitizer and sunscreen. I like that idea.
I like that too, but I always like dog bags.
Okay,
We could
so,
probably do them all.
well, limited budget, we probably, because they usually get branded, like
I'd
Town
like to do something
Superior on them.
different.
Oops, sorry
That's
about
my preference,
that.
just to switch it up, let's do something different, so.
We've never done sunscreen, right?
We haven't done
Ever.
sunscreen, we haven't done chapstick, we haven't done.
we've not, we haven't done sunscreen, we had those purple ones on carabiners. from
That was
somebody.
before
I don't
me.
remember
Yeah, before
sunscreen.
me too.
All right.
I remember that.
I recommend we do sunscreen
Okay.
this time, and we'll bring a big bottle of hand sanitizer for us.
So
And
sunscreen, we're
yes.
talking about on a carabiner, everything needs to be on a
Yeah,
carabiner.
pretty much like the little travel ones on a
Yeah.
carabiner.
Gotta
and-
have a carabiner.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds
And then
good.
the use up the first aid leftovers.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Well, that does segue nicely to the next topic, which is outreach material. And this is, again, where I think the agenda can be better to have more specifics here. But what this is talking about is when we go to all these outreach events, Arbor Day, Chili Fest, we usually have some set of material we use to talk to the residents with. So usually we have a trail sign, we've had, or like a trail map, a property map of what's available. We usually have, we've had dog poop, like pick up after your dog signs. And it's just, you know, Arbor Day is coming up and we're gonna get into that season. And so now is the time to start discussing what we think we'd like to have for that, for the outreach events.
So one of the things that people asked about at Chili Fest that I thought would have been cool to have is a lot of people were interested in what the town trail network looked like, and we didn't have an easy way to communicate that. So we had mentioned something like a poster size print of the town that we could use as a reference, so people could be like, you say the words, right, but I didn't even know what most of those words meant until I was on the committee for 6 months. But if you could point to where it is in town, then people are.
So like the specifically named trails? Because we have the passports that show you where everything is, but they don't have names on them, right? It's just an outline in the town where there is a trail. Is that the difference?
Yeah, something,
Okay.
it's something that you could use as a prop, basically, instead of
Prop with names.
I mean, the little thing is little, right? It would be, so we could, okay, I like that.
I think that goes along well with some of the things we talked about, trying to, branch into like a wayfinding and signage type thing down the road as well, that we can kind of start using them in common terminology that makes our wayfinding easier.
Because we usually have a map of the proposed trails, but not of the existing trails. That's the difference. So do you think we would want to have two different ones, like existing and then proposed, or existing and then proposed maybe in a different color?
That's probably fine.
On one, I think one, yeah, okay.
I could probably just blow up the passport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we could just highlight and then maybe highlight the proposed trails. And that list should have gotten smaller because we did pull off quite a few after our last review. One interesting thing, I don't know how we put what we need for outreach, but I was just thinking about, our number one trail is always, or the trail on our ranking is downtown connectivity. Having something to prompt that discussion of what people would like to see in terms of downtown connectivity, because we don't even have a map drawn up on that yet. So I don't know what we would use. Maybe it's just maybe you just do a map that's laminated and take a grease pen to it and let people, start drawing out where they'd like to see trails.
We have always talked about doing that, just letting people be interactive.
I mean, we usually have limited space, so we can't have a bunch of stuff. Usually when you go to one of the booth, we've got our sign, we can usually maybe have one thing out, maybe another, but if we're sharing, 2 is, 2 to 3 maybe, but.
Are we doing raffles this year?
Raffles? Oh, at Trails Day? Yeah, we should.
Just maybe think of what's on our table, snacks, raffle prizes.
We'll come back to the raffle. We'll figure out what we want to do there. But yeah, I think we should, just since it fits into the budget. We just need to figure out the logistics of that. Another thought on what we could hand out is, we started, I think it was Kate's idea, from providing more information on how to get more information about the town. And then we started putting together our document where you can get this from this website and this from there. And then actually, Sandy, I think you were probably instrumental in getting that fixed on the town website, right? That we've got here's how to stay connected and all the different avenues. We could almost just maybe turn that into a flyer or something that we could hand out that when people say, how do I get connected? Here you go. I mean, last time we had a sheet of paper, but it didn't, I don't know. I don't think we gave out that many of them, but I think it's worth trying. I just don't know what the right approach would be. I don't know if, I don't know. Open to ideas on that.
Did you have like a clipboard where people could even just put in write in their email address? And then they could get added
So
on
what we did
to-
is we tried that with the iPad and we couldn't get the iPad to connect to the internet, and so that got shut down.
Okay.
The hard part is it's not just a single email address. There's all these different things that you need to kind of decide to opt into or not.
Okay.
And Community Park just didn't have a good connection.
Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is.
Does the town not have one of those yet? A little stay connected flyer with all the info?
Do they have it?
Anywhere in existence, created?
Yeah, I think we
I
have
think you would.
one with all the different links that we put together, and then we have the website, and then.
But the one from the town is so much better. Oh, is there something at the front desk now that they hand out?
I think Jody probably has something available for people to sign up.
So we could look at that and just get copies of that, if it already exists, we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
I mean, if we think it's a good idea, we can figure out what to do. I mean, it seems like maybe it's not our job to force our will on the other committees, but it seems like anytime we're out, if people just had a stack of these that you could pull, to get better communication, I think that would be good.
And I thought ours was really good. I mean, it had everything.
It was good. Well, but there's now more, right? Now there's the Reddit, and then there's Facebook, like there's more avenues now, and so it would need some work. I'd rather just use what the town's maintaining.
Yeah, I'm sure she has.
Okay. Okay, so a property map, a trail map, as we discussed, some outreach. And then we also have other little talking papers that we'll bring. Like last year we had a talking paper on e-bikes, since it was a topic that had come up. We had a talking paper on Rocky Flats. I mean, I didn't find I used it that much, but I used it once or twice, and just having it there to have the facts was.
I think the consistent message when we have shift changes and things like that at Chili Fest is the nice part about having those talking papers.
Okay. Okay, so what else? And I'd say that we don't need to solve this all tonight, since this was, a pretty vague topic on the agenda. I'll add this to the agenda next time, and I think we've got a good start to it. If you want to think about it for a month and come back with any other ideas or anything you'd like to see as we go out, I think that that's a good way to do this. We have some time for that. Where with the Trails Day, we do need to get all this stuff scheduled and booked out earlier. So if everyone's okay with that, in the minutes, I'll outline in the agenda for next time, I'll outline those 3 that we discussed, and then see if people want to add anything or subtract. So
I would love to advocate for something about the Raptor program, not to say, go here and check out the birds, but just talk about the numbers, because I think that would be an amazing thing for people to just know that is happening in the town. And pictures, which are now my background on my computer. Not this one, but at home, because they're amazing.
Seriously. Okay.
Sean's gonna reinforce the wall here.
Awesome. Makes me anxious.
Okay. Well, I have 4 that we'll bring to next time, and we'll wrap this up. So if that works, we will move on. I added this one because it is on our work plan, but this is our outreach to other open space committees. This was it is in our work plan to do some sort of outreach. I just wanted to have a discussion on this, on what is the goal of the outreach? I think that there are a lot of different mixed goals that are going around about the outreach right now, because in the last meeting when we were talking about CenturyLink, we were saying, let's go reach out and do everything we can. But now it feels like what's going on with CenturyLink is being handled in executive session, and maybe that isn't necessarily what the board wants us to be doing in terms of outreach for CenturyLink. So if we're, I guess, let's just clarify that. What are our goals of reaching out? And number 1, should we be doing it for CenturyLink? And maybe that's a good question for Trustee Hammerly. Is this something you feel that because of what's going on with everything, that we should maybe not be discussing specifically a CenturyLink purchase with other open space committees? Does it hurt things? Does it help? Is it unknown and we should just stay away?
I would say it's unknown.
Okay.
At this point, we're in communication, and at this point, we don't know where we are.
Okay.
So, and I have not had, we haven't had an executive session, and I was not at the meeting Monday night. So I don't think there's any problem with you talking to other open space committees about CenturyLink. It's just, we don't have a whole lot of information at this point, but it is public knowledge that we are interested in trying to move forward on that piece of property. So if you have connections, I don't think there's any problem. It's just, we don't have a whole lot of information yet. And I don't even have the information.
Sure.
I've shared with you as much as I can. And there isn't a whole lot more to know at this point.
All I just want to avoid is if you were saying, no, we're into this and things are going on and please don't stir the waters, then we won't.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't have the ability to negotiate on behalf of the town, one way or the other, so there's nothing wrong with talking about it. But because you don't have any ability, you know, you all know you can't negotiate, and that's the board and the town's purview. So, but you know, I don't think there's any issue with you talking to other open space committees. There's just not a whole lot you can talk about at this point.
Okay.
I mean, my viewpoint on it has really been, are there common interests? You know, we share borders with Louisville and Broomfield and Boulder. You know, are there things that are common interests that are in between? I mean, CenturyLink kind of borders on not only Boulder County to the west, but then Broomfield.
And Jefferson.
And Jefferson. And so, you know, are there common interests that we would see a benefit working together? Or is it, we just need to plow forward as a town to try to do things? I mean, you know, HHR may be different than CenturyLink because of where it is, you know, geographically.
One of the things we talked.
Geographically, but still common interest there. BOCO has put in lots of funds that agriculture land is in a different area than Town of Superior as well, but, sorry, continue.
One of the things we talked about was chatting with the Louisville open space folks about the underpass of the 36 and the connectivity between Davidson Mesa and potential connection over to the Meyerhoff Trail.
And as a reminder, if you guys remember, I sent you an email on January 16th that I'd reached out to my friend in Louisville, and she brought it up to their chair at their meeting, and Ember is the name, and she was going to reach out to either Allison or Ryan.
Wasn't there something else in there that about having a good agenda set up for a meeting, or did she say they would reach out and?
No, that they would reach out. That was a communication I got. That may have been conveyed to you, but I don't know anything about that.
No, I haven't seen anything yet. My guess is they would reach out to staff, but that would be fine. I guess one approach is when we can get something on everybody's agenda, then we could develop the work plan. Or should we be keeping a list of potential things that we'd like to talk about? So when we go, we can say, look, these are the kind of things that we're thinking that would be worthwhile to discuss, right? Is it connectivity? Is it, you know, what are your high target open space, you know, just as an interesting piece of conversation? What new trails are you building? If I didn't already say that, maybe I already said that, but those kind of things. I just don't know if that'll be helpful or not.
And what we did last time was we hosted the joint meeting before one of our meetings. It worked out great for us. I don't think they had a meeting space that they could use. And the main things that we talked about were wayfinding, because they had a big wayfinding plan and process that they just went through. So they shared that with us. And then we got Cameron with snake conservation because of upon their recommendation. So I thought the program angle was really good for us. I don't remember what else we talked about.
So, all right. So we have to offer something to these counties. It can't be all us drawing from them. That was the problem we had with Louisville last time. They were here, they gave us a lot of information about what they do, but we didn't have much to give them back. You know, it should be equal both ways. You know, this is what we're doing that might help you, you know, to Kevin's point, you know, we do want to see if there's any collaboration between that underpass and what's going on there, or if there is a potential for co-property buying, if it helps build better infrastructure for trails or whatever. From a Louisville standpoint, from a county standpoint, I think anything Rocky Flats like Joel and Safe Superior and all that stuff, I think for Jeffco and Boca, or Jeffco, Boco, Broomfield, I would think, you know, between the mineral rights, the Jefferson Parkway going through there, the airport, all that stuff, what they're doing to deal with that stuff as well. I think that would be enlightening for us, and we can tell them from our standpoint, you know, whatever we found or what we're trying to do, so that we keep that open communication between at least our open space committees. Granted, that's county. We're not county, we're just a little town. But still, it just feels like we need to provide more output if we're going to put these meetings together. And again, I think it's more than just CenturyLink. I mean, that whole corner of Southern Superior has a whole host of things going on that they would share interest on topics and what they're doing.
Well, this is where I think putting together the right agenda could do that, right? If we said, we're going to present for 10 minutes on what our key priorities are and what we're working on, you guys do the same, and then we'll reserve 40 minutes for discussion. And, you know, where do those overlap? Something like that might entice them more.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we can probably do that offline between this
sure.
meeting and next meeting.
Well, I mean, I think that Louisville said, yeah, we'll reach out. We're going to try to schedule something in the fall. I mean, they were already looking that far out to try to schedule. So my point is, we have time, and between now and then, a lot could even fall through.
Oh, yeah.
On that even happening. So I think we could just get, if we get something scheduled, then we could, you know, get an agenda together pretty quick.
But I know that Peter had started something for, was it Broomfield County?
Yeah, Town and County of Broomfield would like us to reach out to them. Specifically, they would like staff to reach out to their staff with proposed agenda items for a meeting.
Okay.
And so the proposed agenda items would have to be the group agreeing on their agenda and then
Right.
me reaching out.
Yes,
Once
exactly.
we have that ready. Okay, great.
So I recommend that we could circulate ideas via email and then come back with our refined list next time in the meeting. And then we can ask staff to reach out. Does that seem reasonable? And then maybe, you know, maybe the same will work for Louisville as well. I know that the ball's already in motion for them to reach out to our staff to
But
try
you
to
said
set
the
something.
fall, so did they already reach out?
No,
to
I thought that was
Council?
in the email. I thought
Oh,
she
okay.
said like when the time frame
Gotcha.
was, when they could.
Pulled up Tracy's
Gotcha.
email, yeah, she said, talk about a meeting late summer, early fall.
Okay.
So they have.
I mean, and I think if we could actually get 2 different open space committees in 1 year, that would be a huge
That would be amazing.
accomplishment. I don't think we should try to push for all of them. I think we would be overwhelmed. You know, please correct me if you agree, if you disagree, but I think having 2, I mean, it's going to be basically an extra meeting for each one of those that we need to commit to do this, so.
This
Okay.
seems long overdue.
I agree. And we've got an energetic board. I think we'd have a lot, or an energetic group here that we'd have a lot to talk about. So I think it would be interesting. Okay, so the action there is that we need to, so this needs to stay on the agenda next time.
So agenda topics for town open space committees versus agenda topics for county open space committees.
Well,
Those are two-
Broomfield is city and county. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I just don't know.
It's weird.
I know. But I think the topics will be the same, right? What are your key
Yeah,
priorities?
it would be.
What are the big things you're working on? What are the big things you're worried about? Ours are going to be simple, right? CenturyLink, trail connectivity into Boulder County, Jefferson Parkway, Rocky Flats. I mean, we could pull this together pretty quickly.
Okay. So, but we're gonna still reach out to more than just Broomfield, right? I mean, we're
Well,
gonna
we've got
see who
we've
reaches
got
back.
Broomfield and Louisville already on the hook. I don't think we should.
Okay, well, because in my opinion, Jeffco, I mean, they own a part of Superior. I mean, Superior's
I
part of
understand.
Jeffco. And particularly that one corner that's my concern. And they might have more potentially to say, or impact.
I mean, but another thought on that is if we actually get a willing seller on CenturyLink, this is going to be Justin's job to go talk to them about how to potentially work together to fund that. I don't see how we move that forward.
But all of Rocky Flats is in Jeffco. It's not in
No,
Broomfield.
I get that.
Yeah, so that's
Well,
what I'm saying.
so are
the
you
bigger
recommending?
picture.
we
I'm
do-
talking about the bigger picture.
So you're recommending we do 3,
I'm recommending that we reach out and see if they're willing to reach back.
but potentially to have 3 then this year. I think that's a lot to.
No,
I think
not
that's
this
a
year,
lot to
just put
chew.
it, at least get it on the radar with them. If it happens this year, maybe in a year, I mean, I don't know.
But if we're going to reach out in February and not think we're going to do something this year,
Well, they may come back and just say, well, we can't.
Yeah,
We may
okay,
be a
that's
year
fine.
out, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's a county, it's, it's like going
Yeah.
for in Boulder County.
Okay.
Is there a
It's-
reason why
it's not-
each of those has to be a separate meeting?
I think trying to pull together multiple just raises the logistics to almost impossible, is my feeling. Maybe we could pull it off.
No.
I mean, maybe we could have an open schedule for, sponsor an open space Regional Open Space Forum.
Might as well go to a conference.
Yeah, I mean, for meeting once a month, I don't know how we would do that. But I could be wrong. I mean, if we're willing to,
Represent.
yeah, Allison?
I was just thinking about these emails and, you know, one of our next topics, which was the committee training, and where discussions with more than three or more members is considered a meeting. And one of the suggestions that we talked about was, you know, like creating this agenda, for example. If everybody had ideas for an agenda for the joint meetings and then brought it to our meeting, and then the group discussed all of the options in the open meeting and the public meeting, and then made the agenda and kind of racked and stacked them. And I could even assemble it in like a Word document or something if everybody wants to send it to me or something. I don't know.
Oh, I see. So instead of discussing an email,
And a bunch of
submit an
emails.
email and then kind of rank in the
Or-
meeting.
Or for everybody to send it to a point person.
Yeah.
All the ideas. I don't know how the group wants to deal with the, making sure that we're, abiding by the open meeting rules.
But I think that's a fine approach. We can submit to, I'm happy to collect the
You can
list
submit
too.
to
I
me.
can
That's
do
fine.
that. Send it to,
Send it to
Kate
me.
and I, and we'll collect up ideas for an agenda, and then we'll have the list available for the meeting, and then we'll just, rank them and cut off the one, we'll probably don't want to have 10. Maybe we have the top 5 or whatever, but and if we don't have it all figured out by next time, we could go around another time, but I think that'll work, so.
If
okay.
I could make a point on that, I wasn't at the training and I haven't watched the video yet, but did hear that topic, and it's a little confusing to me, so.
Okay, can we just wait to get to that topic?
Oh, I
When we
don't
get
see
to
it
that on the agenda?
on
It's
there.
in,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's
60.
there.
My
So,
apologies, let's get there.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have a clearer path for getting the open, getting to meet with the other open space committees. So let's move on to updates and look ahead. So Shan, do we have an update, Allison?
Yes, so the surveys have been complete, the geotech is complete. Now we're doing utility locates, which we've been kind of, they're scheduled, but it takes a long time, especially when there's snow on the ground. And then, it'll be going out to bid, but now we're not as concerned as doing it as quickly because of the nesting and saying maybe not until June. And if, that's still the group's, recommendation,
That is still the group's recommendation, yes. We are waiting.
everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Does
just
anyone
making
not
sure.
agree with that recommendation? Let's put it that way. Okay, I'd say that's the group's recommendation.
Because one of the initial ones was that we would have it ready for summer when people wanted to recreate. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, if we don't start construction until June, it may be a little bit later than what we were anticipating, having it done like in early spring and then being ready to go.
I think that's fine. I think if
Okay.
anyone questions it, we can answer that we want to be good stewards of the environment and we had
Okay.
a valid concern, so.
And don't we always have a little blurb in, I want to say a lot of words that don't make sense because they're not the right thing, but like, isn't there always a little blurb about things that we're discussing, and that can be something that comes up that says, we're starting work on Shan, but it's not happening until a little bit later because of the nesting.
We haven't really ever postponed a project that I'm aware of for nesting birds. And so this is a little new for me, but I am the one that is gonna be assembling everything because I'm the head of this specific project for town staff. And so, as long as we know that that's the recommendation of OSAC, that it won't be commencing, no work will be commencing until June. Is that the right month?
July
July.
would be the right month.
Okay.
I was gonna talk about this at my
Okay.
report, but
Go ahead.
But I probably should bring it up now. I think because of all the construction at Rogers Farm and across the street, we haven't seen the pair of red tails that usually nest in that tree for the last several weeks. But if they were going to nest, it would be probably during March. So I don't know how flexible the timing can be, but we could possibly tell you in March if there's a nest there or not, and then make a decision about doing it earlier. Honestly, at this point, we could probably guess that they aren't going to nest there, but we don't know. We won't know for sure until March.
Well, it really depends on who the project is awarded to and their schedule. And like, it's hard to change it really quickly, because if it's in the bid documents as this, hey, this is the schedule we're anticipating, then what they'll do is they'll bid on it with their availability in mind. And, you know, if we move it up, they may already have a different project somewhere else, or materials may, you know. I mean, it could be possible if they don't have a lot of work, but that usually is not the case. But it could work out.
I think we all agree we should plan that, and then if we could change it, if we have better information. But yeah, I'm okay with that, if everyone else is.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, I agree. All right, thanks. Okay. The next update,
Can we
go
go
ahead.
back to Shantia? So I sent out the email again about getting input from committees, and I only heard back from Patrick, who, it was a brief response, and then from Kevin, who runs the youth leadership, who said that their committee meeting got postponed because of weather. So he gave the most.
It's on their agenda, though.
Yeah. So do you know any more, Allison, about feedback? Because we haven't heard a peep from anyone.
Same thing, and I was actually gonna cover Kevin's meeting last week when it got canceled, so that I could talk to them about that, and, got canceled.
Any ideas on what we should do going forward to get information from people?
Well, I think if we're reaching out and they're not being responsive, what else? I mean, we can't force them. I mean,
But
if they just.
It seems strange to me.
I don't know if they've got a full work plan and they don't have room for it. I don't know. I mean, it's our passion. It may not be theirs.
Right, so what I'll do is I'll send out a reminder again to that same email list, just, like a week or so before, when is it, March 1st?
March 1st.
Okay, a week before March 1st, just remind everyone, we're still looking for input. Have you take it from individuals or from committees, and yeah.
I mean, that's a week from today.
When we sent the first email out, have they all held meetings, or were their
Right.
agendas already formed? So maybe this month is the month that things might happen, because, they typically do this, we do it in a meeting.
Yep.
Because at the training, I was talking with somebody from CAPS, and they said that they were super excited that we reached out, and were really excited for the opportunity to do some collaborative work. And their meeting isn't until, I don't think, next Thursday, right? So.
Okay, that's helpful information.
So, I mean, I think a reminder email would be helpful, and I think just even asking if your committee just doesn't have the capacity to collaborate on this year, that's okay. Can you let us know so we're not anticipating?
Okay.
Because it also doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? If someone has an idea some other time and they want to lobby for budget to do it on their own, that's fine too. So, okay.
Okay, thanks.
So it sounds like we're getting some traction. It might just be a little bit slow.
Yep.
So thanks for that feedback, though, Kate. It was cool to hear that they were excited.
They were really excited. That was
Next
pretty
one's
cool.
really quick, town board topics. So I've got 7 responses. So I'm, when the request comes for the agenda, I will go off of the voting that, we have from the responses that I have. If I can send a reminder out to the 2 that aren't in. Actually, I will. I'm not even going to make that a question. I will send that reminder. But we have enough now to be able to rank order the topics. Committee training. So this is the next one. This one might be a little bit more longer of a discussion than the others, but thanks Kate, Peter, Marcy, and Vanessa for attending. I watched the video a couple times actually, so I could absorb it all. I thought it was pretty cool. If you haven't watched it, definitely do. It's an hour 50, but there's some activities, so it's really an hour 30 of your time to go through it. I think the most important thing I'd like to say of that is how cool is that CenturyLink is one of the top 3 board priorities for the year, right? That means that we've had some impact over the last year to get that raised. So that was my first takeaway, right? When they say these are, this civic space and I forget the third, but economic development, thank you. But CenturyLink was right there. So that's cool. That's exciting for us. So, but Tracy, you had some questions. So why don't you
Yeah,
go?
so I know I think we're a little different in that we do a lot of email communication to try to shorten our meetings. So that was the biggest thing that I have heard rumblings of is the email communication. So I'd love any clarification. Are we not allowed to communicate
No, I
via
think
email,
we have
or-
to follow the rules, right? If we're providing input, but if we're bringing up new topics, we absolutely shouldn't be doing that in email. We should be shelving that until we have a meeting. If we feel it's urgent, we should be calling a supplemental meeting and taking minutes and because the problem with email is there's no public record. And that's the big issue with that. And so even with the stuff that I think Peter was asking and Vanessa was asking, and, we can kind of address that, but yeah, as an advisory board, our communication path is to work on our work plan and make recommendations up to the board. So if something becomes urgent in what we do, we may have to call an emergency meeting, get it notified, get it recognized, get an agenda out. And then if we can have a staff liaison there, great. If not, then communicate up to the board what our recommendation would be.
And another really handy thing, like the group, what we started doing is like people took on certain work plan items and like that was their baby, that was their project. And then those people brought updates to the meeting. So like those things could be worked on since they kind of took it on as their project. And then when it's discussed with the group, it's not via email, it's with the whole group so that that discussion is part of the public information.
But that's 3 or more for Shan Shan. So that's Vanessa, Sean, and I. So then we shouldn't be allowed to communicate via email at all? I don't know, it's not clear to me. And maybe it'll be more clear when I watch the video.
No, that part
No,
isn't
it's not that
exactly
clear.
clear to me either, right? If we have a working group that's working on something and it's 3 people or more, that it may actually
If it's all from our
have to be.
group, on page 12, it says, a meeting is any kind of gathering convened to discuss public business in person, by telephone, or by any other means of communication. All meetings of 3 or more members or a quorum of a public body, whichever is fewer, are public meetings open to the public at all times.
So that sounds to me like we can't email at all unless it's between 2 people.
Technically, you are correct.
Okay.
There should, and we've been grappling with this same topic as a board.
Yeah.
Because you're basically having a meeting. If you send something to the whole board and we start talking about CenturyLink, we should not be doing, things that are actually public discussion. We cannot be doing that over email. We need to be doing it in a public forum. And because we have some new board members, we've been grappling with the same issue of learning how to have discussion in a public way. Now, the 2 of you can have conversations over email about a topic that you're working on together. But you can't make a decision. It has to come to the committee to make a decision. So, you guys can say, okay, well, we're going to go do this. But you really shouldn't be making any decisions over email, over telephone. Those all need to be discussed in a
And
public.
I think that's the fine line is the decisions or work moving something forward. If it's saying, I'm going to work on this, you work on this, let's, combine it back up and bring it back to the committee. That seems like that's okay, right?
Well, and it also says all meetings at which any public business is discussed where a quorum is present are considered public meetings and are open to the public
But
at all
public
times.
business, like that's such a vague term, right? What does that mean?
Exactly, that would be the problem. That's the problem we're having even as a board. Basically, if you're talking about anything that's got to do with the town of Superior, it's public business. Now, I do think that there's been some discussion about having the town attorney give more clarity for us, because it's hard for it's not the way any of us do business. We're used to doing business where we talk about things within our business. So, my recommendation to you is, if it's more than 2 people, don't discuss it until you get into a meeting. Don't have a discussion over email, unless you have a public notice of it.
So, there are ways to have public discussions that are online where anybody can access them. I mean, so we do this all the time with like a Slack channel that you can just have it linked right off of the town page. So anybody who's interested, it's publicly available. I mean, the simple version of that is just making a working Google Doc that everybody has access to. So it becomes public and you're not handicapped by not being able to discuss it.
I'm not going to make a comment on that. That would be something that you would need to check with the town attorney. But I believe her advice is that if it has anything to do with town business, you need to be talking about it in a meeting. Now, we have not gotten to the point where we have said, okay, well, here's another avenue that we could use. But if that's something that you would like to have explored, certainly send it to Allison. Allison can then send it up to Patrick. We can talk with the town attorney about it. But it is the issue of trying to keep everything public as possible. And, we all know that technology is making it easier and easier. But remember, too, when you start having a discussion over public email or any other public facility, you got to think about what you're saying very carefully, because you are a representative of the town and you have to be careful what you're saying, because you don't always have the authority to say it. And I know that because I've been punched down a couple of times for it.
Sounds like we're not the only ones struggling with this, and that hopefully there'll be some clarification on this.
I mean, the town board is definitely, we just had an election where folks were running on transparency, and even stronger than we've ever done. And now that folks are elected officials, they're finding they can't talk quite as freely as they did when they were private citizens. So, again, I think town attorney's happy to help provide more clarity, because I know we're all struggling with this. But there have been some important cases out in the United States already about public officials saying things they shouldn't say or do. And so if you need some clarity, certainly feel free to, get Allison, or, I can send it up to the town attorney and say, hey, can they do this? Can't they do this? But, one of the things that was happening was CAPS was having 2 meetings a month, and they actually still do. They have their regular published meeting on the 3rd Thursday, I think it is. But on the 1st or 2nd Thursday, they were also having a meeting, but they weren't making any decisions and they weren't publicizing it. And the town attorney said flat out, nope, you can't do that. If you're going to meet, more than 2 of you are going to meet in any way, shape, or form, you have to post it. In fact, they did some training on using some technology, and they had to post that because it was a meeting of public officials.
But don't you need quorum to make decisions?
I'm just telling you that if you are more than 2 people meeting, whether you made a decision or not, it is not. 3 trustees we cannot go for coffee. And we could go for coffee,
So how
we're
can
just
you
very.
do First Fridays then?
Because we post it.
Oh, okay.
They're posted. So as long as you post it, the 3 of you, Joel and Sean and Tracy, could have a meeting, but they have to post it.
But there doesn't necessarily have to be minutes then, or are there minutes from First Fridays?
There are not. As long as it's a publicly posted meeting, you don't necessarily have to make minutes, but if you make any decisions at the meeting, there have to be minutes.
Okay, but a decision does require quorum though, right?
Well, it would not be a decision of the committee.
okay.
It would be a recommendation of your subgroup that you would then bring back.
How would we post that? Would we post that on the town Facebook page?
No, we would just tell Allison that
It
we're
would just
having a
be
meeting.
an agenda, and then if it's an urgent topic that you're going to make a recommendation on, then you would need formal minutes. And then I would post it just like the regular ways I do.
Yeah, and we have a requirement of any town meeting has to be posted in certain sites. So basically, they would then be, once you decided to do it.
There has to be one at town hall, on the website,
Yeah,
send in the email.
So like when, like Pro Stack OSAC leadership meeting, we'll have to post this. we'll have to say we'll be at Brunelleschi's
If more than
at
two,
7:30.
if more than
No, 'cause
two
it's-
of your committee members. Now, I don't know how it works, if it's 2 ProSec people and 2 OSEC people.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just happen to
Well,
be at
that's where-
tables abutting each other, but not the same table.
Well, okay.
But I mean,
But I'm glad I
literally.
asked that because that is interesting clarification because it's different committees.
Different ways, Keith.
But if someone else happens to be at the,
Yeah, but I mean, that's why we now have the town releasing notice of the First Friday events, because initially it was just one trustee hosting it. Then it ended up that trustee Dozell, Pennington and I were all going, and so we're like, oops, we got a problem. So we now post those as, even though they're not official meetings of the town does post them.
Well, it sounds like we're going to get more feedback on this. We just have to be careful. It sounds like.
Has a question been posed to the attorney, though, to get more feedback and clarification on it?
Well, if you're not clear over the information that was provided in the manual, then I would say send Allison and myself, or send town manager or Patrick more, what your specific questions
do
are.
that.
Because she could probably go on for about 6 pages.
Yeah.
She's usually pretty good at writing about 6 pages of stuff. But if you got specific questions, we'd rather be able to address your specific questions.
I think that would be helpful because we've also had so much hubbub in the past couple of years about merging ProStack and OStack. And the reason being that we're taking all of this time from staff and all of this energy from staff. And now it seems like we're going to take more time and energy from staff. So I don't want that to be the reason that our meetings are longer because we can't communicate via email anymore. So I just want it to be, I want us to continue to be as efficient as possible and take as little of Allison's time as we can. And this not be a reason for something like that to happen.
Yep, I understand completely. And I think that just ask specific questions, if you're confused about what you can do. Because I don't want to give you legal advice either, because I get in trouble for doing that enough. But I'm happy to send questions up to the town attorney. And let's clarify, because we want to make sure you're doing the right thing, we're doing the right thing, and that we don't have any misunderstanding, like sometimes we've had in the past where we all go out and blindly do what we think is the right thing, and then we get kicked in the butt for it. So, absolutely happy to get some clarification on it.
Thank you.
And it's really hard for me when I see the emails and I really want to answer everything, and now with more specific guidelines, like even my email today, but I mean, it was kind of about this training, and since the information is out, then I felt more comfortable, but just to let everybody know that.
Well, it'll be a transition. We'll do our best, right? We'll try to police each other, and it's going to be hard, but we'll be okay. The only other thing I picked up is that some committees don't actually sit up at the dais, that they set up tables. So it sounds like that might be an option for us if we want.
I thought this was required. This is why we moved to this.
No. That was because we did not have the technology to be down, and so we needed our speakers because a lot of it wasn't being captured. But now we have newer speaker systems that have been around, I don't know, for maybe the last 8 months or so.
So if you wanted to go back
would you
to being
guys
around the table
like to
in the
try
middle of
that?
the room, you can absolutely do that.
You would?
Yeah, I've never cared for this, but.
Okay.
I find
it's
it's hard
It's
to
more
look-
setup breakdown though for everybody. That's the only thing.
We got cool new tables now.
Yeah.
We got these really nice tables.
Well, I
But yes,
recommend
we do
we-
have,
why
because
don't
the
we-
work sessions, I happened to watch the board work session on Monday night because I was homesick. You can hear very well, but we didn't used to be able to. So you can,
So how about I recommend we try it next time and just see if we like it? Just try it once, and I think I'll like it. It's hard to,
Yeah.
my neck gets sore looking back and forth, sitting in the middle here, so.
These tables are much nicer to move if the oldies remember how heavy the old tables were.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks again for hosting the training, and good job to staff and the board members that were there. It seemed like it was good, so thank you. Okay, Coal Creek Construction, do you have an update on what they're doing?
So it's still more of the same that we discussed at the last meeting. And the addition is that, as soon as weather permits, the revegetation will be beginning.
Okay.
Could I request, so there, I had requested documentation, where documentation was on all the Coal Creek restoration stuff for the project was. And you found some, and you found some, Sandy, and I think Patrick sent me some, but they're not like in one central location on a web page. And I would think that people, the only thing I found that was on a public Towns of Superior webpage and one site that referenced that had to do with, Second Avenue. It would be nice if that page were updated with all the information and documents that were sent to me with that for what's going on east of McCaslin, so that people like myself or other people that ask me about what's going on, is there a website I can go to, what's being done, you know, what's the plan of record, basically, of the stuff going on. It'd be nice if all those links and documents were put on that page, or even underneath our open space website somewhere, as a reference for the restoration stuff, the project in this entirety of what's to be done. Because I think I'm not the only person that would like to see that information. I know all the people in my neighborhood would like to know what's going on and why it's being done. And, you know, we already had talked about why the tree's being cut down, et cetera. But there's no real place on the website that really, you know, is a central point for all.
If you could send me all the documents
Yeah.
that everybody sent you, because typically that would be in the planning department under that project. And so I would have to see what you're talking about and what's not there.
Mhm.
But typically all the documents that are, pertaining to a project are in a planning department under that project.
Okay, that's fine, yeah. And I don't know which would be the better place, our OSAC page or the page that's already there that talks about Second Ave. But yeah, I'd be happy to do this.
So I need to back up one more real quick on the committee training. One thing that I took away from this is I need to do a better job with the agendas, being more specific. Right there, sometimes they're 3 words, and I was hoping that I write up this whole supplemental, right? I've got 5 bullets under each one, and because I didn't submit that with the agenda, I couldn't send it out to all of you. So I need to figure out a way to be more specific when we submit our agendas, and that's something I'll work on for next time. So anyway, just wanted to let you know on that one. Okay, standing updates. Conservation Fund update. Tracy, is there anything you want to bring us up to speed there, or?
Nope, Trustee Hammerly already did all of that. I did have one question. I was working, I couldn't attend that training. And it was public and it was taped, so I feel like I can ask this question. Was there some talk about donations coming into the town? Was that discussed in any way, shape, or form? Or is that unknown to people?
I'm not following. Donations in what? In what?
Then I'll follow
Okay.
up with
Okay.
others.
Okay.
Well, wait, I disagree with that. I mean, there was definitely discussion of donation of property and also a potential donation of money or something else. And I don't know if it was part of the official agenda, but Patrick definitely
I don't recall it,
mentioned
and it wouldn't really have anything to do with the agenda for that event, for the training. So if it came up, it may have come out, as a side conversation or a side question, but it would not have been official part of the meeting. And literally, I don't remember it.
Okay.
But I'm a 61-year-old old lady, and I don't remember everything anymore. So I'm not questioning that it was actually discussed. It could have been.
And I might have missed it, but I did watch the recording a couple times, so.
So again, that may have been a side conversation that wasn't part of the formal presentation.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you. All right, Joel, you have anything on Rocky Mountain Greenway or Jefferson Parkway?
I don't have any new notes from the committee. I don't know if because of holidays you didn't have a meeting that we've gotten recently. I do have a couple things. Sandy sent me one piece. I'm behind getting through some of this stuff, but I'll get it out hopefully later this week.
I have a small update on Jefferson Parkway. The Brookfield City Council apparently is having meetings about, and fill me in, Joel, because I'm new to this. They're going to have a vote regarding their financial contribution to the development of that parkway, and the vote, I believe, is March 12th, and it's regarding their 2.5 million that they may or may not contribute. There was a meeting on Tuesday where people were giving public comment, and then there's, I think, February 26th is the next meeting where we could provide public comment regarding the parkway. That is not all 100% finite, but that's a little bit of chatter that I've been hearing. So I don't know how to let you know. We can't email.
Well, but you can, I mean, you're emailing him, right? You're not emailing the group.
I'll email Joel if I learn anything else, but I would like to rally people. When
You
those
can,
dates get
I mean,
set.
you can't,
Yeah?
it's not that you can't talk to each other.
Okay.
I mean, I still send emails to, I sent an email to the board that said, hey, the training was really great. I want to call your attention to this section of the training that talks about what board members can do. But of course, then I didn't talk about it after, I don't want to have a discussion about this, but you can absolutely send a communication that says, hey, everybody, Boulder County or Broomfield County is having a discussion. This is on their agenda. Here's a link to the materials. That's okay.
Okay.
You just can't have a discuss, you don't want to get into a discussion about it and what you heard and what you think your action
Right.
should be
Right.
regarding
Or
what you heard.
recommend that
Or,
everybody go to the meeting, that kind of thing.
Just say, hey, this is it, and I'm going to go to the meeting if anybody else wants to go to the meeting. So you can have those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah, that's, if you're not sure,
So it's
feel
more
free to.
Statements are okay. You can.
Yeah, I mean,
put
but you
statements
just
out
can't
there.
be having a discussion about town policies or activities, but it's absolutely okay to say, hey, I'm going to go. I think a couple of representatives from the town might go. Don't pressure anybody to do it, and don't get into a big discussion about it. But you could, that's what we have email for, so you can still do your business. You just can't have discussions about policy and decisions of the town or regarding the town. So, don't be as petrified of your email as I am right now, so.
Too late. So when I get a firm on those dates, I'll let you guys know.
Okay, thank you. Joel, are you good?
Yeah, that's all
Okay,
I've got for today.
thank you.
I said I've got a few things to send out. I'm just behind.
Okay, Marcy, oil and gas?
I went to a meeting of Save Superior, and they're very excited about a new product they're about to roll out. It's software that will be part of their website, and you'll be able to put in the area you're interested in, and it will give you an alert whether a gas or oil permit has been filed. So this is really exciting stuff, and they, a couple of the people that are members have developed it, and we saw a demo of it, and this is really great because you'll be able to put in, where you live, your area, and then you'll get an alert anytime a permit's filed.
Cool.
So that's a step in the right direction. The other thing is, of course, I don't know if you guys were watching State Rep Matt Gray, who was talking at the Monday meeting. There were also, basically, there is major oil and gas legislation coming down that's being led by the governor's office, and Save Superior is on board. In fact, they're lobbying this Friday on it. If anyone's interested in participating in that, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with the right people. But the legislation is major, it's earth-shattering, and it will change the way things are done in the state. So everyone's very excited. Matt Gray has, of course, said that nobody really knows the exact contents, and they're being very secretive right now of what is in it until it is rolled out. Save Superior believes that they're going to see a draft of it, and they'll have some input into it. And the last thing I wanted to report is that they're ready, willing, and able to help us if there's anything they can do with CenturyLink from a community perspective, if we need, community backing of any kind of sort. they're ready and willing to help. All we have to do is ask.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay, last one, Vanessa, Raptor Program.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on, as you know, because the great horned owls are on their nest at Community Park. And Kathy is the one actually who's monitoring that nest, and she thinks that she is already on eggs because the female is staying in the nest and she's made it through the snowstorm, hopefully makes it through this wind. But I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about great horned owls, just so you can know what I'm gonna let you know about in the future. They usually lay about 1 to 4 eggs, and 2 is the most common. And so in about 30 to 37 days, hopefully we'll have some babies and hopefully have some pictures. The cool thing about owls is, though, their eggs, so they're gonna lay their eggs like 2 days apart. They don't lay them all at the same time. So they'll also hatch that way too. So they'll all be different sizes, and that'll be really neat. And let's see. Just wanted to let you know that we're going to keep an eye on them, and I'll keep giving you updates and pictures. I already mentioned the ones at Shan Shan, the red-tailed hawks. We're not sure if they're going to nest there or not. I'm just learning, talking to my volunteers, that the red-tails nest later than the owls, and that it would be more like March. So, like I said, we should know in March. There was another pair that I watch at Colton and McCaslin, and they've nested there for years, and I'm not seeing them either, probably because of Calmonte. But I just want to be really hopeful that maybe both of these pairs will come back someday, and I still want to be protective of that nest tree at Shan Shan, because they could come back after the construction's over if we make it appealing. So, and then at Autry Park, I've got a volunteer named Jeff who watches. There's a red-tailed hawk nest there right over the dog park. And the great horned owls and the red tails, I understand, Jeff has watched these for years. They kind of go back and forth about where the nests are going to be and change it up. And the great horns like to steal from the red tails and others. So it's kind of up in the air right now about the red tails and whether or not they'll have their nest there this year. But we're watching, and so I'll let you know. Today I talked to a guy named Scott at the Colorado Avian Research and Rehabilitation Institute. And he is the guy that put in the video camera on the great horned owl nest in Louisville. And it was in the newspaper. And I'm getting a lot of feedback that people here in Superior would love to have something like that here. So I just gave him a call to see what was all involved with that. And he was super excited. They're in Estes Park, and they put in these cameras, and then they use it for research. And he's written, great horned owls are his favorite, but he said that he'd be willing to come here and just look around and tell us what he thought would be a good option idea for us. He was kind of leaning towards, obviously we can't put a camera in an active nest, so we can't put it in the great horned owls, and it's hard to predict where their nest is going to be. It seems like, at least for us, they don't do it in the same place year after year, so that might not be a good choice for us. So he was mentioning possibly putting up a nest box somewhere for kestrels or some other raptor species that won't have nested yet. And he said he's had great success with that he can put up a nest box, they find it right away, and that they use it, and they could put a camera in it. So I wanted to run that by you guys. Of course, there's, yeah. He said, oh, so the way that Louisville makes it work is, he said there needs to be a power source and Wi-Fi for where this camera would be, which could be a problem, but he would also think about that as he's looking around our town for a good location. He said the way Louisville did it was they took a garden hose and fed a huge extension cord all the way out to their camera because otherwise the squirrels would eat the extension cord, and the garden hose, the squirrels are just like, it's just a garden hose, so they don't bother it. So anyway, he's used to doing this, and he said he'd be willing to come down real soon and I guess probably meet with me, Peter, anybody from our Raptor monitoring group and look around. The cost would be, he said he charges $40 an hour. The cost for the website, if we did it, is $100 a year. And that would be, the public would be able to look at it. We'd be able to capture freeze frames of it, use it how we want. And also his gas money. So I don't know how any of this works. I just wanted to throw this out there and see what everybody thought.
So how would that work? Would we need to, I mean, would this have to go into the next year's budget or for smaller things, or is there ways to make, I mean, OSAC has our own, we have a little bit of a budget, right? I don't know if it would, I mean, it almost would fit into that. I don't know, Allison, what do you think?
I don't think it would be hard to come up with an idea for it because it's so neat and I think people would really appreciate it. And one other thing I wanted to mention to you while we're talking about this was, if you wanted to write up a little thing and you've been sending pictures and, I was talking to you about, who's sending the pictures so that we could give them credit. If we wanted like do a little blurb for some of our newsletters, maybe quarterly, like update on Raptor monitoring program, and then to start getting, interest around the Raptor monitoring program. And then we, if we are able to find a spot that would work for the camera, obviously probably not Community Park with the Wi-Fi, but, I think that would be really neat. And I mean, we could figure that out.
So what would our next step be? I mean, when he would come down and look soon, though, that is where, I mean, he's not doing that on his time. That would be a consulting agreement with him. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's his work time to come and do this, so.
I think he's wanting to do it. If we want to do it this year, he would need to do it soon to get something up for a bird that would probably nest sometime in March, is what he's thinking.
So, Allison, how do we move this forward?
And well, maybe we find out how many hours it would take him, so then we have that kind of at least a good base number for the $40 an hour, if it would take him 4 hours or whatever. And then, I can work on figuring out if the group wants to, once we have that number, I don't know if we need to do it sooner or if we should just go ahead and say, if it's under this amount, we might make a recommendation to go forward with this.
Knowing then that I'm sure there would be his time in putting up the nest box and installing the camera, and then plus the $100 for the website.
Is the camera the property of his company's property, so we wouldn't have to worry about material fees? I don't know, what all of that would entail.
Good question. I don't know. I do know that, I think he said that Louisville also powers theirs by solar, so that's an option too.
Sounds really neat.
So on something like this, though, is this a recommendation to the board? Does this need to go through the board to direct staff to work on? No?
Well, I mean, if Vanessa can gather all the information and send it to me, and then I can.
My gut says that if you can get the information, Allison talks to Patrick about it and says, hey, do I have the ability
That's true. This is in
to
our
look
work
into
plan.
this? It's in your work, the
Yeah,
work plan,
okay.
the Raptor program
Yep.
is part of your work plan.
Yep.
This is not a $10,000 project here.
Yep.
Parks and Rec has some discretion in their budget. Now, if it's going to take 50 hours of a staff person's time, then
Right.
Patrick has to make a decision. But it sounds like this guy knows what he's doing, but Patrick and them have to be involved because they have to look at the liability factor of where it goes and all those kinds of things. But, you know, Patrick can look at I mean, you guys got a $5,000 discretionary budget.
That's true.
So, you know, I don't think it's going to be $5,000. I mean, my guess is it's $500 at most. So, you know, I think it's within your discretionary budget, just depending on what it's actually going to entail. So, you know, I just gather as much information as you can, and then if Allison gets too much trouble, then I'll call Matt and we'll see if we can, but I mean, I think it's something that the town would get excited about. So I think, you know, it seems reasonable, depending on, you know, so.
Yeah, the
Very
Louisville
cool.
one is right on this Colorado Avian Research website, and it's pretty cool.
I mean, if it was 88th Street, we might have more problem, but I think an owl cam or a Gestrel cam seems a little more within a little bit of discretion.
We're thinking it would probably end up being over by Sagamore because that's where Peter's seen those species, and he had already mentioned to me that that would be a good spot for nest boxes, so.
And it would be fun for our newsletter too, because if everybody's watching and we take some still shots of, hey, look how our chicks have grown. It'll be fun. That's my cat.
You mean your cat's collar? The cat's collar.
I think the Louisville one mentioned that they actually turn it off if they see something up there that they wouldn't want somebody to see.
Awesome.
So do we need to make a vote on that, or based on amount cap or anything, or can it just move forward? Just so it's expedited, so he's not waiting, so we're not waiting till our next month meeting.
Does it matter at all what kind of an organization it is, either if it's a nonprofit organization, or it wouldn't matter as far as whether or not we can pay
I wish I had more answers for you, but this is the first time I've been at a committee meeting where we've talked about a nesting box, you know, so I think just continue to move forward with it. And, you know, I haven't heard anybody up there say this is a stupid idea that we don't want to pursue. It sounds like you're all for it. So let's just see how far we can get with it.
Okay, thank you.
Coming out of our budget, then maybe.
And I'll be your advocate, but I'm one vote on the board, so.
Thank you. I think I can get at least 2 more.
Okay.
What kind
Great.
of birds do you think you're gonna get?
He mentioned, for the nest box, he mentioned kestrels or barn owls. He mentioned both of those. Yeah.
Okay, it's great.
Yeah, they're
It's
both
really cool, yeah.
amazing.
I want an owl.
I know, they're so cool.
And that would be great. I mean, we'd be bringing a new species to Superior to have a nesting site. We'd be creating that nesting environment for them, which we talk about wildlife enhancement, so that would be right up our alley.
No, I mean, ever since I've been here, we've been trying to figure this out, and you're really pushing it forward, so I think it's awesome. So thank you. Okay, well, that is our agenda, so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.
Very cool. That would be super awesome.
Yeah.